Call this meeting of the Brookhaven City Council to order. Tom Curry, if you please give the invocation. Invocation.
Again, Mayor, thank you for the no warning. All right, let's bow our heads. Lord, we're here this evening in order to make decisions that we pray are those within your sight that you want us to make. We thank you for the citizens of Brookhaven. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Brookhaven. May we always be mindful of their needs. May we be mindful of the city and not be mindful of ourselves. Lord, be with this council tonight as they deliberate in their decisions, and may they be in your light. We pray all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All right. Just please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Since we've got such a good crowd here, I would like to remind everybody for invocations, if you'd like your pastor or rabbi to come do an invocation, please let us know. We have all faiths that can come do prayer here. Agenda announcements, is that where we are?
Mayor's, yeah.
I have no comments.
Roll call.
Oh, roll, yeah, call the roll, please, Madam Clerk.
Mayor J. Max Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Rebecca Chase Williams, District 1.
Present.
Councilmember John Park, District 2.
Here.
Councilmember Bates Madison, District 3.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Gebbia, District 4.
Present.
We have a quorum, all here.
All right. I have a quick announcement. If you,
Mayor,
yes?
before we start, let's close the executive session.
Okay, all right.
I move that we close executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of discussion? All in favor of closing the executive session, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Is there a motion for adjournment?
I move
On
that
the
we-
work session?
I move that we adjourn the work session.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adjourning the work session, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We are on the agenda announcements. Well, I have one announcement that's kind of a housekeeping. If you parked inside the parking deck, please stop by the reception desk, and a city staff member will let you back in the garage, because they close that garage if you parked in the parking deck. Brad, the guy right there in the back, with the tall guy, he will help you out. And there is open house tomorrow night in Town Hall and city birthday celebration at Briarwood Park Rec Center from 5:30 is the reception. 6 o'clock, there'll be a town hall. We'll have staff there to answer any questions, like the questions you may have about tonight. You can ask those questions tomorrow as well. And then after that, there'll be some refreshments and some cake for the city's second birthday celebration. We turn 2 years old on Wednesday. That's tomorrow night. And the Holiday Soccer Fest is this weekend, all right? And Hanukkah started today, so happy Hanukkah.
I would like to, one another announcement, I'd like to commend some of the students of the DeKalb County school system, particularly the schools here in Brookhaven that participated in the Academic Bowl this past Saturday. I believe the kids from Huntley Hills, Kittredge Magnet School, and Chamblee Middle all were medalists in the Academic Bowl, and congratulations to those kids for their hard work.
All right.
And I want to thank the Montgomery Elementary Chorus and the Maris Singers who came out and helped make our second annual holiday tree lighting a most festive occasion. You can see the Brookhaven tree in Blackburn Park as you pass. It's right across from McDonald's. It's kind of I wouldn't call it the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, but it's not the Macy's tree, but it's a real tree, and we planted it last year, and it's grown some, and it's going to continue to grow. So if you see it all lit up, that's the official Brookhaven tree in Blackburn Park.
Yes, it has grown up so much that we buried a time capsule somewhere near it last year. Now we can't find where we buried the time capsule. So, did you find it? Okay, I found the time capsule.
GPS.
All right. Let's see, agenda announcement. I think Bates has two motions.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion on, can I make one motion to adjust the agenda?
Yeah, you can do it.
For two items? I move that we amend the agenda to move a new item to It is a,
Report.
it is a report for AAA Major Practice Pavilion to item number 5 on the reports and presentations, and also to move the Kroger case. Do you need the case number?
To tomorrow morning.
Not to tomorrow. To item number 1 on old business, to give these fine folks here the opportunity to address the council.
Not stay so long.
I second.
But you should want to stay for the whole meeting. All right?
Did you need the case number on that? Or do you?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Is there a second?
I did. Second.
All right, any discussion?
Who's second?
All, Joe. All in favor of the agenda change, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. All right, public comment.
We have no opening comments.
Okay. Consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor, we have 6 items on the consent agenda, 3 of which are meeting minutes. We also have the consideration and approval of the GDOT Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant, as well as 2 releases for settlement agreement Confettis and Rush, which was discussed with all of you during the work session.
All right, is there a motion on the consent agenda? Is
I move that we adopt the consent agenda items 1 through 6.
there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adopting the consent agenda, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Announcements, do we have any announcements? Okay, no announcement. Reports and presentations? Sorry we started a little bit late. We had an executive session that we had some important things to take care of, so I appreciate your patience. Commendations. We have some commendations for some wonderful Brookhaven officers here.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I could have our officers come up, and we also have 2 big partners here in this commendation and what transpired this day. First, I'd like to introduce John Funny's here from Friends of Brookhaven. This was an AED save. John's group was instrumental in providing a lot of the monies that provided the AEDs for all of our police cars. And also, we have here Mike Kesselman, who's Director of Sales for Cardiac Science, whose AEDs we actually have used in our cars.
All right.
So
So this is Chief Yandura, for everybody that know. He's the chief of Brookhaven Police. Wave, everybody, chief. All right. And we have John Funny here with, he's on the Brookhaven Planning Commission, and he is also with the Friends of Brookhaven, who helped provide a lot of the funding. It's a citizens group. If you want to join, they provided a lot of the money for the AEDs that are in the police cars that you're going to hear about tonight, what it did, what the result of us having the AEDs in the police cars. And Major Gurley?
Yes, we have Major Gurley here, and in the back hiding is Lieutenant Eric Silvius.
Right.
So what happened was on around noon on December 2nd, 3 of our officers, one of them couldn't be here today, Patrick DeSico, they were called by dispatch to respond to a woman that was having a heart attack. She was basically out. They arrived, I believe it was Corporate Square Building number 3. They located her. Somebody was administering CPR. They brought the AEDs. Make a long story short, this is Corporal Matthew Murray, who's here, and Officer Olin Bauner. Both of them arrived there with Patrick DeSico. They administered CPR. They pulled out the AED. We were all trained in it. They did everything that they were supposed to do. And the 54-year-old female that was actually unconscious and out is currently with her family now in northern Georgia somewhere. So it was a save. So that being said, the commendation reads, on December 2nd, Officer DeSico, Corporal Murray, and Officer Bauner, they're credited with saving the life of using a city-issued automated external defibrillator AED on a patient having a heart attack. On this date, officers, along with the other officers, responded to a medical call. Upon arrival, they found CPR was already in progress on a 54-year-old woman. While they took over CPR, the officers prepared the AED for use on the patient. The officers were able to revive the patient by administering 2 shocks from the AED to the heart before paramedics arrived on the scene. Patient was awake and speaking to officers and paramedics as she was being prepared to be taken to the hospital. With that, we'd like to give all these officers credit. So again, thank you. And I believe Mike has something here from Cardiac Science, which we didn't expect. Another thing I wanted to bring up, that another life-saving tool that we'll hopefully have soon, Corporal Murray's actually been working diligently. We were notified about 3 weeks ago that we were going to be giving a grant to receive, what is it, Narcan. Narcan. It's the drug used to actually take over, eliminate heroin overdoses and things like that. Corporal Murray's actually been working with some of the medical doctors who are having a hard time finding when it would sign off on it, but we're supposed to get 200 doses of that, which will enable us to help out somebody that, unfortunately overdosed on some drugs. So.
Great. Now you got a busy agenda. I just want to thank, on behalf of Cardiac Science, thank the Friends of Brookhaven, the town of Brookhaven, the city of Brookhaven, everyone that was involved in implementing this program, because the best part of our job is to recognize those that give the second chance at life and saving a life, and someone's going to be home at Christmas because of these fine work by these gentlemen in the department. So on behalf of Cardiac Science, I just wanted to present a plaque presented to Corporal Matthew Murray.
Thank you, sir.
And a life-saving pen for you. Thank you very much. Officer Olin Bogner. Bogner, good job. And I know that Officer Patrick DeSico is not here, so Chief, on behalf of Cardiac Science, if you can please make sure that he gets that. And just want to make one more stat. For each chance, every minute that goes by, your chance of survival declines by 10% without an AED, and the officers arrived within 2 minutes and gave that woman an 80% chance of survival. So commend you guys for what you're doing. Thank you. It was about 7, yeah.
We need 12 more.
You need 12 more. All right. On behalf of the Friends of Brookhaven, we're very pleased to be associated with this organization, with the police department, to support you. We raised close to $70,000 to support this effort. And the chief just told me they need $12,000 more. 12 more AEDs. So we would like to still receive checks from our citizens to support this great cause. As you can tell, it saves lives. So anything that you can do, I look on the side with the lawyers. Anything that anyone can do to support this, we really would appreciate your support. And you can see me after the meeting and getting information about making a contribution. Thank you.
And joining Friends of Brookhaven.
And joining Friends of Brookhaven. Coach, you're a good coach. You're a good coach, Mayor.
Josh, we need to squeeze in.
Go ahead, Dave. Just a little more. Need $100,000 grant to move this pole.
Just cut it out.
Thank you. I'll need your hand, please. Okay, and sort of a good segue, we have, if you didn't know that earlier this fall, in September 3rd, I believe it was, Brookhaven moved from DeKalb 911 service to Chatcom 911 service. And the reason we did that was for officer safety and to get our police response time down to 3 minutes. And Chatcom obviously played a role in this life-saving here because the police were there in 2 minutes. So our officers are reporting that our switch to Chatcom has improved service immensely. It's improved their safety immensely because they're tracked by the Chatcom operators. We're able to ramp up when we need to have more staff and ramp down when we don't need as much staff. So it's a great service. We're happy with our decision to have moved to Chatcom 911. And Mr. Esty here is to talk about how you can help Chatcom, help Brookhaven pay for Chatcom 911 in a simple way through your cell phone bill. So if you can give your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate those kind comments. I would tell you on behalf of our staff, they've been very pleased with the relationship that we've established with Brookhaven and the officers. They're very complimentary. They enjoy working with your officers, and I would say it's been a very successful relationship so far. So we appreciate the work that's been done. I just wanted to talk a little bit about One of the key elements that is in Georgia, actually, and it's fairly unusual nationwide, but in Georgia, the 911 service fee, and that's $1.50 that you see somewhere on the bottom of your cell phone bill, or either your cell phone bill or your landline bill, or even your voice over IP bill, is a fee that's collected by regulation. And in Georgia, those fees come to the city where the police are dispatched, which is unusual. In a lot of cases, the state takes that money and provides some infrastructure for 911. But in Georgia's case, that money flows down to the individual cities and whoever their PSAP is. And one of the first things that we did when we signed a contract with, and we being IXP, on behalf of the relationship between the authority, which runs Chatcom, and the city, is we began an effort to convert those funds from DeKalb County to the city of Brookhaven. It's a fairly structured process that notifies all of the carriers that the fees now go to the city of Brookhaven instead of DeKalb. And that process takes some time to turn around. The carriers, quite frankly, know they have to pay somebody for it, but usually it takes some effort to chase them to get them to direct those funds. One of the problems that often happens is people don't pay a lot of attention to their cell phone bill. They pay it, but they don't denote necessarily where that money is going to. And so it's important that Brookhaven residents make sure that on their bills, it is the city of Brookhaven, and their cell phone bills are not from another county or another state or another jurisdiction, perhaps when they moved, because there's not a lot of incentive to direct those funds to the right place. So it's incumbent on Brookhaven residents to make sure and contact their provider, whether it's a landline like AT&T or wireless like Verizon or AT&T, to make sure that that money comes to the city of Brookhaven. It's $1.50 a month, but it turns into thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars when you add up all the subscribers within the city limits where that money can come from. And that helps subsidize the contract that the city pays to the authority for providing that dispatch service. So it's important to look at those bills and make sure the money is coming to the city. I know Chief Andura is probably a great test case because I think initially he found out that his was still going to where he had originally lived, and took some time to get that redirected. So it's important to do that, and I think that they're also going to put something on the website for Brookhaven, and our other cities do the same thing, and try to put information out for citizens to kind of look for that and make sure that the funds are coming to the city.
Just wanted to reiterate, because we have a very intelligent room here tonight, but I know there's at least one blockhead back there that I know who needs to hear this again. If you look on your cell phone bill and your cell phone bill is in another zip code or it's not in Brookhaven, your 911 charge is going to another jurisdiction. So the 911 service you have in Brookhaven, the funds derived from your cell phone bill pay for it. So if you look on your cell phone bill or your landline bill or your internet, voice over internet line, you need to make sure that your bill is going to, your $1.50 charge is going to the city of Brookhaven. So you need to call your carrier, look on your bill first. If you got your phone in the city of Atlanta, it's going to the city of Atlanta. If you got it over in Dunwoody or Sandy Springs, your money's going to Dunwoody or Sandy Springs. All you have to do is call and get it switched. Say, hey, I live in Brookhaven, I want my 911 fee to go to Brookhaven too. Because right now, the fees we're getting in Brookhaven don't necessarily cover the whole cost of the 911 service, where it's about a $150,000 deficit. Almost $200,000 deficit. So we're taking that money out of the general fund to put it to your cell phone bill. So we know that if everybody in Brookhaven had their $1.50 going to the city of Brookhaven, it'd probably cover itself. So it's your bottom line, it's our bottom line, and just make sure your cell phone bill and your landline, your 911 fee is going to the city in which you live. All right? Got that, Mark?
Mr. Mayor, if I could too, I'd like to publicly, commend Joe's group, Chatcom. This past Saturday, we had Shop with a Badge program over at Target, and he had actually 3 employees that came and assisted our officers. We gave out, I believe it was about $13,000 worth of gifts or purchases towards kids that wouldn't have a Christmas otherwise.
It was very nice, yeah. So anybody else have any questions for Mr. Esty? Okay. Thank you, Joe. I
Thank you
appreciate
very much. Happy holidays.
All right. Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas, Joe.
Reappointments, appointments for boards and commissions. It's an action item. Yeah, I don't have any names down here. Thank you. All right. There are, for the ZBA, some terms that are expiring, and we're going to reappoint those folks with approval of the council. For the ZBA, Jeff O'Connell, Glenn Vyers, Don Bolia, and J.D. Clockadale. For the Planning Commission, we have Stan Siegel. Is Stan here tonight?
Yes.
Stan, chair of our Planning Commission. I'm reappointing you, Stan. That's okay. All right. He's doing a great job, by the way. Shannon Cameron, Rob Francoeur, John Funny, who you saw earlier. And for the Alcohol Board, Joseph Patan and Michael Arnett. And I think that Construction Board of Appeals will be appointing Lindsay Matier. Okay? And we need someone to serve. We have someone rolling off of the Alcohol Board. We need someone to serve to replace Gliani Fagundo. So if anybody here is, the Alcohol Board deals with license suspensions of clubs and businesses that sell underage or have violations of their license. So it doesn't meet that often, but it's got a pretty important job, actually. So if anybody wants to volunteer for that, please let me know. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the appointments, reappointments, as stated by the mayor.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Just a clarification, the one Construction Board of Appeals is not a reappointment, she's a new appointment, so.
He's right there.
Is he?
Mr. Mateer's right there.
Mr. Matier? Okay, I gotta swear him in, all right. Y'all get to witness the painfully long oath that we have to give in the city of Brookhaven. It's in our charter. But is there any more discussion?
I just want to say thank you to these citizen volunteers who put in incredibly long hours on some of these boards, the ZBA and the Planning Commission. You'd be shocked to know how late some of these boards go. And this is all volunteer citizens making decisions about variances and zoning matters. And, this is exactly the kind of local control that we wanted when we became a city. And I'm just so pleased that these good citizens have stepped forward and done such a great job, and I want to thank them.
Yes, exactly. These are volunteer boards, and I would like people to understand that. When you hear of a zoning decision in the city done by the ZBA or a recommendation from the Planning Commission, understand that these people come from amongst you. They're fathers and mothers, wives, husbands, accountants, lawyers, developers, doctors. We've got real estate agents. We've got the whole gamut, computer programmers. And I hear criticism sometimes of some of the decisions they make. People think that they got ulterior motives, and that's the only thing that really bothers me. These folks are here just to do a volunteer job. They don't get paid. We give them a meal at least. We give them a dinner when they have their meeting. Yeah,
I work for pizza.
Yeah, pizza. Yeah. And they are here to midnight at sometimes, and they go out to properties and visit the properties and go out amongst to see the decisions they're making. So it's not just people. They take their job seriously. They're all professional. We have the best in the metro area, so I applaud and appreciate them.
And I would just say, if any of you are interested in serving on these boards, please let us know, because these people have all been good, faithful volunteers for us, but I'm sure some of them would give up their seat in a heartbeat if we ask them to. But if you're interested, come on down, because there's plenty of room for you, and we need that kind of citizen input.
Okay, all in favor of approving the mayor's appointments to the ZBA, the Planning Commission, the Alcohol Board, and the Construction Board of Appeals, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Congratulations, you're re-upped for another term. All right, now I have to swear in Mr. Matier. You here? Come on down. Come on over up front. I'm going to stand so I can have the microphone over here. All right? So you're just going to say, you're going to read this. I'm going to go kind of fast. If you raise your right hand, on my honor, I, you got to say on my honor.
On my honor.
I
Name? Lindsay Mateer.
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the Construction Board of Appeals of the City of Brookhaven. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you didn't know. We didn't give you a warning, did we?
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the Construction Board of Appeals of the City of
And will, to the best of my ability, support and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Georgia, and the Charter, ordinances, and regulations of the City of Brookhaven.
and will, to the best of my ability, support and defend the Constitution of the United States, Georgia, and the Charter, ordinances, and regulations of the City of Brookhaven.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or political subdivision or authority.
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States,
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States,
any other state, or any foreign state, which I, by the laws of the state of Georgia, am prohibited from holding.
in any other state or any foreign state which I, by the laws of the state of Georgia, am prohibited from holding.
I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia.
I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution of laws of Georgia.
I will perform the duties of my office in the best interest of the City of Brookhaven to the best of my ability, without fear, favor, affection, reward, or expectation thereof.
I will perform the duties of my office in the best interest of the cities of Brookhaven, to the best of my ability, without fear, favor, affection, reward, or expectation thereof.
Okay, part two. You ready? I'm just kidding. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you. What is the Construction Board of Appeals exactly, Marie, again? It deals with builders. There you go.
Serves similarly to our ZBA in that they review matters dealing with the building code and the interpretation of the building official.
Right. So we have some builders on there, and I think there's a
Yes.
lawyer, too.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's see, where are we now?
We're at number 4, appointment of the MARTA Transit Oriented Development Review Committee.
Yes. And the list of that, you have that list?
The list I tried to print, I can read it out.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah. So while I'm looking this up,
This MARTA Transit Oriented Development Review Committee is, as you know, MARTA, the Brookhaven Station has been designated as a TOD, or a Transit Oriented Development. And MARTA is going to redevelop that site. It's 20 acres. And we have the zoning control over that development, but we don't have all the control over it. They kind of are driving the bus. But we are a partner, and we want to make sure they realize we're a partner, because what goes there impacts every one of us. The more dense it is, the bigger it is, the more traffic you're going to have. So we want to make sure there's some responsible development there. So Bates came up with the idea, this is in his district, District 3, to have a citizen board that will be a liaison between the city of MARTA and the city of Brookhaven, to make sure that the citizens of Brookhaven's interests are protected when that development comes out of the ground. So I think it's a great idea to have citizens doing that and reporting to us what is going on and what concerns or enthusiasm they may have for the project. So Bates, if you'll.
thanks for the good explanation of it. The representatives here, I'll first explain, we have 14 representatives. I'll be serving as an ex officio council member for District 3, since the MARTA station is in District 3. We have a representative from each of the 4 districts, plus the mayor. From District 1, we have Denise Starling. From District 2, Blair Belton. From District 3, Joe Pilati. District 4, and the mayor's representatives are pending. We have a representative from each of the neighborhood associations adjacent to the MARTA development. So that's Brookhaven Fields, represented by Jack Hondard, Brookhaven Heights, represented by Giles Stevens, Historic Brookhaven, represented by Joel Putterman, and Ashford Park, represented by Kathy Chrisman. We also have a representative of the BPCA, the Brookhaven Peachtree Corridor Alliance, the group that supports the overlay area. That representative is Michael Roberts. And then we have two representatives from the Brookhaven Development Authority, Pat Hoban and Susan Coker. So I applaud all of these representatives for their willingness to serve, and they will be charged with representing the interests of Brookhaven and being the first sounding board for the developers who are interested in participating in that MARTA TOD redevelopment. And hopefully, as MARTA anticipates coming up with a proposal for the city in 2015, they will be utilized throughout the year, working in conjunction with MARTA to deliver the best development plan, development that the citizens of Brookhaven want to see occur there, so that when it ultimately gets up for rezoning to the mayor and council, hopefully we'll have a very good plan that has had participation of Brookhaven residents.
All right, thank you, Bates. There's 14 members, so we need to, unfortunately, tonight, got to swear in each one of them individually. So, I'm kidding, we're not doing that. But there are two positions, and if anybody in the room would like to see afterwards, just leave your name with the clerk. If you are interested in serving on that citizen board on the MARTA development, please let Susan Hyatt know, and we'll give you a call. So, thank you. All right. Old business.
Yes, old
We
business.
amended the agenda.
Correct. That's Kroger, SLUP 14.
No, I'm sorry. There's one more. There's an item on reports and presentations.
Yeah.
That'd be the,
Oh, that's right.
and then the first one is the Kroger
Okay.
after this.
Good evening and happy holidays to you all. It's a privilege to be here, Your Honor, and City Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Mickey O'Brien. I am a board member at Murphy Candler's Baseball League. I am a landscape architect, urban designer, and my family are proud citizens of the city of Brookhaven. So most importantly, I want to thank you all for all your efforts in creating what I feel like is the highest quality of life within the region, possibly within the country, and I do want to thank you for that. With that said, the next thing I want to talk about is one of the things that makes the city of Brookhaven and other cities around the country quality of life so great is recreational facilities. They promote health and wellness from adults down to children. They create hubs for social interaction. And all of this rolls into this great city that we live in. And so again, thank you. One of the things that has been very integral in continuing that health and wellness and quality of life the league has invested in has been the AA batting pavilion. It's located let's see, if you've been to the park, it's a covered batting and pitching pavilion located within the baseball area down near the coastal fields. This facility has been the single best investment the league has contributed money to over the years. It has become the social hub of the park. Families of all ages congregate there. But more importantly, it gives the players, girls and boys, an opportunity to have one-on-one coaching and development opportunities that they don't get on the fields. And so the AA Pavilion, there are people there at all times of the day, and it really is the library for the kids to study and learn before they go out on the fields and compete with other teams or other districts to perform or to take their test. So we feel, and the park needs another facility just like this. It would be located on the other side of the creek, adjacent to the AAA field. This concept has been presented to the softball league and the football league, who all support it. And we look for continued partnership with the city to get this project off the ground. We've done some cost estimating. We have done a concept layout, a rendering, and we have positioned it to where it will have minimal impacts on the environment. And we really think it will continue to promote that quality of life you have established and the league continues to run with for future generations to come. It gives an opportunity for players to practice during inclement weather, and it has just been a fantastic success for the community. So with that said, I want to keep this brief because I know you have a pretty packed agenda tonight. But what we're looking for is your continued support, public-private partnership in getting this project moving. We would like to have this constructed by the end of the summer, so it would be ready for fall ball and spring and future seasons. And so with that said, I would just like to thank you for the time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. And thank you for your continued support on making the city of Brookhaven the best city it can be.
Thank you. I have a couple questions for you.
Yes, sir.
The red line on this picture here, what is that red line? Do you know?
Okay, let me see here. The red line is a dimension line, Mayor. This may be a little easier for you to see, and I apologize for you out.
Can we put it on the overhead?
Well, that one won't fit, I don't think.
Oh, we can zoom this.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Here you go.
Oh,
This-
okay.
This little one. Okay.
Where would I need to put it? Right here?
Want to try the little one here?
Yeah, use this.
I have a thumb drive as well.
Well, while we're getting that red line,
Yes.
what, so this has 1, 2, 3,
Is four batting lanes and 2 pitching lanes and 4 soft toss areas.
okay, we explain what soft toss is?
Soft toss is a smaller area, a fenced-in area. It's the place my wife likes to take my son because she's not afraid to do the soft toss, but she is not going to throw pitches at him. But the soft toss is an area where you can work with kids on their hand-eye coordination in a smaller, more confined, netted area.
Okay. And combined with the pavilion that's just, I guess, south of this.
Yes, sir.
pavilion, which the league paid entirely for that pavilion, did they not?
Correct.
All right. Combined with this pavilion, where else inside the perimeter, besides maybe Georgia Tech or some other colleges, would you find facilities, if this was to be built, where else would you find something like this, if at all?
I do not know of any other covered practice facilities that are public. There are indoor, private facilities, but none that I know of that are public.
So this would, you think this would be helpful in attracting tournaments and people to come stay in Brookhaven hotels? and whatnot?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. The board has talked about hosting some tournaments, and, the other facilities we play in within the district, they don't have anything like this. So this continues to elevate the city's facilities related to Parks and Rec.
And one last question, and after this one, Rebecca, everybody can go. We did a partnership with MCLL to do the bathroom right there at the bridge, correct?
Sir.
Where the city put in, y'all raised half the money and the city put in the other half. And
Yes, sir.
So have y'all raised money for this project as well?
Yes, sir, we sure
How
have.
much have you raised approximately?
We have raised approximately $80,000 for this facility.
Okay, right,
So again, it's the public-private partnership.
right, all right. Other questions?
Is this just for the boys' side or the girls' softball as well?
No, this is, our league has boys and girls, and the softball has been, and so we're real flexible. If the softball would like to use the facility, we're open to that. They just need to schedule it through our board, and we make that happen. Matter of fact, they use some of our other facilities, and sometimes we use some of their facilities. It's a real partnership within the park, honestly.
And I think the girls are, the softball, there's no boys playing in the girls' softball league, right?
Girls playing.
No boys playing in the girls' softball league.
I do not think so,
Okay.
Mayor.
But I know the softball league is looking at doing something like this, just, not this big, but something similar to, in between their two fields. They're wanting to read.
That'd be great, because again, it gives the one-on-one attention, and you can go out there under, well, except lightning. If it's raining, my wife, there are people there all the time. It is the most used facility in the park, other than the restrooms on a busy day at the concession stand. So,
Any other questions? Thank you very much. We
thank you,
appreciate
Mayor.
it.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
council. I really appreciate your time, and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right.
No Kroger.
So we're going to go, so the next item is going to be the Kroger application. Just wanted to, when the hearing is over, we'll probably do a 5-minute recess, but if you want to stick around for after that, we'll be doing budget. So if you want to hear about budget, please. After, those are deferrals, though, right? There'll be quick little deferrals, and then we'll do budget. So if you want to stick around for that, please do. Just let you know that in the budget, there's $3 million for parks capital improvements, $3 million for paving and sidewalks, and just capital, not even operational. So that's a big deal. And we've got almost a $4 million reserve this year. So that's in less than 2 years, and with cutting the millage rate twice. So that's how your city's operating.
And
All right.
adding 9 officers?
And adding nine police officers, that's correct. We're adding more officers. Yeah. All right, let's see, Marie, if you go to number 1, which is
Yes. Number 1, Kroger, SLUP 14-05, Mr. Song.
Thank you. SLUB 1405 is a special land use permit request from Kroger to construct an accessory fuel center. They have an existing anchor store at the Cambridge Square Shopping Center. It's going to be encompassing 1.015 acre portion of the larger 10.1 acre tract. They're requesting a 7-pump fuel center. The applicant has requested withdrawal without prejudice. If you recall, the Planning Commission did have to make a recommendation due to the fact that they didn't have the ability to recognize a request for withdrawal. Staff did recommend denial. The Planning Commission as well had recommended denial. Thank you.
hear from the applicant. I just want to remind everybody to, during these more serious deliberations, which are the applications, we have to make sure that applause or calling from the audience or any type of small outbursts we're not going to tolerate. So we'll just make sure we all maintain our behavior. I know we will. So thank you.
Got a more current site plan. Yeah, can you enlarge that?
Yeah, if you just center it, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm Doug Dillard. We represent Kroger. Jill Arnold of my office and I here tonight representing Kroger. I want to start out by just reminding you that we have submitted some information to you, and I hope you've got it in front of you. I'm now showing you tab 4 because the site plan that you had up there before is not the current site plan. We have actually filed this, which is not only a site plan but also a landscape plan, shows the crosswalks and the future traffic signal.
Can you zoom, Susan, please?
Kathy has it.
Kathy's got it.
Well, that's a little too good.
Oh, that's good. I can see that.
Squeeze it back down if you could.
Come on back a little bit. A little more. Keep on coming back.
That better? There you go.
All right.
There you go. Thanks, Ben.
So we're asking that this be withdrawn without prejudice. We realize we've got a lot of opposition here. We've reached out to the neighborhood. They've been unwilling to really talk about any compromise, so we understand the predicament that you might be in here tonight, but we're asking for your leadership because this is a use that is consistent with land uses in the area. Staff has recommended denial. You've got 20 criteria that you're supposed to consider when you consider these type of applications. Staff has recommended denial based on the fact that they find negatively on only 10 of the 20. So I'm gonna respectfully address the 10 items that they found they did not agree with and base their denial on. The rest of them they were okay with. So we have filed, and I hope you've got that with you. We filed it last week. We filed an amended letter of intent. We've got responses to the SLUP criteria, which I'm going to go through here briefly. We also have filed an amended site plan, landscape plan, which you see here. We've got some pictures showing you what it actually looks like driving down Johnson Ferry Road today. We've shown the setback plan, an area map of the neighborhood, a letter from Georgia Power, who owns the adjacent substation, saying they have no opposition to it. And then we have Abdul Amir here tonight that's going to deal briefly with the traffic study that he made. So first of all, criteria number 2, they found that staff recommended it's incompatible with surrounding land uses. I find that hard to believe. Adjacent properties are zoned C1, NS, and RM 100. The only single-family detached close by is across Johnson Ferry Road. And our proposed fuel center is closer to the homes, is not as close to the homes on Johnson Ferry Road as the other gas stations which are located at the intersection of Asher Dunwoody and Johnson Ferry Road. Criteria 5, land uses along the route are adversely affected because of the volume of traffic. Our response will be, and Mr. Amir will confirm, the existing residential land uses are set back from the street. I have a vegetative buffer along the south side of Johnson Ferry Road, further buffering noise and traffic on Johnson Ferry Road. Criteria 6, they say it's dangerous to pedestrians. Well, because don't have sidewalks out there. What we're proposing are crosswalks that are non-existent and a traffic light that is non-existent to allow folks to come from the residential subdivision into and from these facilities in a more safe way. Adverse impact from dust, noise, and staff. Just going to say that's purely speculative. The staff had no study of dust, noise, or otherwise. And moreover, in 135 of these fuel centers, Kroger has not experienced any negative result from odors, smoke, dust, or vibrations. Criteria number 8, hours of operation may be disruptive. This store stays open to midnight. We're going to close it at 10 o'clock. The existing stations along the area stay open later than 10 o'clock. So we're saying we're going to close this facility sooner than the other commercial businesses that are in the area. Adverse impact on operation of use. It says we're serving too large a community. Our response is we're serving folks that are already on the road system. This is not a destination. This is designed to serve people that are coming into the area to shop, not necessarily at Kroger. They might be going to a restaurant. They might be going to the park, but they have an opportunity to stop. And just think about it. How many times do you make a trip just to get gasoline? Not very often, okay? You're going to make a trip to get gasoline when you're going somewhere else. Number 10, consistent with the requirements of the zoning district. The staff said the district is meant to serve the convenience, shopping, and service needs of the community. For goodness sake, what is a fuel center if it's not for the convenience of those that are already there, those that are already in the neighborhood? What do you think the other the other gas stations in the area are doing. Consistency with a comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan says to serve general retail, commercial, professional office, higher density housing, and appropriate public and open space. We got a park, we got apartments, we got a substation, we got existing other commercial uses. The addition of a fuel station to existing retail and grocery uses provides necessary convenience and cost savings to users of the retail shopping area and grocery as they are able to shop and fuel their vehicles. Number 15, the number of fuel pumps is not typical. Our response is it fits within 1 acre site, and moreover, considering the size of the trees the applicant proposes to plant, the canopies of the trees may significantly shield the fuel center. Number 20, and number 19 is important. Talks about the number of other businesses that this might be competitive with. I question whether you can really get into whether or not it's competitive or not, whether or not it's an overload of uses within the area. I'm not sure it doesn't violate the Commerce Clause, but in any event, it is number 19. Staff did not adequately address that. Number 20 is that the walkability in the area. Walkability doesn't exist. We're providing 3 crosswalks and providing additional sidewalks down in front of our places. So let me just submit, and I'm going to ask Mr. Amir to come forward at this time because we got 2 minutes and 41 seconds. I'm going to say that we satisfy these criteria. You have adopted this program under this commercial district, saying that if we satisfy these criteria, and I have to satisfy all of them, but if these are the criteria that you use, you have limited your discretion to consider these 20 criteria. If they're not satisfactory, then you deny it. But if they are satisfactory, then you have no choice but to approve it. I'm going to call on Mr. Amir to just say, you know, what this project is going to do to this area relative to transportation. And whatever time I got left, I'd like to save for rebuttal. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Abdul Amir. I'm a traffic engineer with A&R Engineering. I was asked to do a traffic study for this project, and we performed this traffic in consultation with city staff in terms of the scope of the study, added some additional intersections per city staff's request. The proposed project at the intersection of Johnson Ferry Road and Ashford Dunwoody Road to add capacity was also included in the study, and city's comprehensive land use plan identifies the level of service for Johnson Ferry Road currently as C, and in the future year 2040 as D. The projected traffic volumes from this particular use are insignificant, and the study concludes that the impact to adjacent street network is insignificant. We did identify several improvements as mitigation. Traffic signal was one of them, crosswalks, and a left turn, hand turn lane. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll reserve our remaining time for rebuttal.
Well, what if we had some questions? So you're saying that you're doing there is a crosswalk there at present.
Right.
So you're
But
adding.
it's unsignalized, and there's just one. So we're going to actually provide 3 and ask Abdul to come up here, as I understand it. We're looking at.
I thought I think we have a new signal there.
Right. Flashing light.
Basically, once signalized, there will be a push button and adequate time given to all pedestrians during every cycle. So that'll be part of the traffic signal.
What was different about this? What was revised on this plan here that you brought it out tonight? What was Doug or whomever? Okay.
I think we showed we showed the C, and Paul come up and asked. I think we showed more sidewalks. We're also showing some buffering in trees and this kind of thing. This is Paul's. Introduce yourself.
Paul Gianco with Kroger. The changes in the site plan from what was submitted were after the first public participation meeting. One, the crosswalk furthest west was suggested by a neighbor because apparently there's a bus stop there and there's no way to cross, so we drew a crosswalk there. Also, there was no sidewalk connecting the front of the front right corner of the access point into the shopping center. So we've also put a sidewalk in there as well. Those are the two changes based on the public participation meeting.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Rebecca?
What changes did you make in the curb cuts?
None, ma'am. Basically, we just, it's an existing curb cut. We widened the road a little bit. Part of this project, in order to create this center turning lane to turn in, requires 6 feet of right-of-way, which is on the south side and on the north side of Johnson's Ferry Road. So we would essentially be widening and within the existing right-of-way, 6 feet on each side of the road. So we took the two curbs on the south side and just pulled them down, and their degrees, their arc, they're changed just slightly, but they're not significant changes. If you can see, if you can see underneath, there's two light lines.
Yes.
Right here, there's a light line. That's the old curb, that's the new curb. And then the same thing on this side. Here's the existing curb, here's the new curb.
What's the dark green area to the right? It's kind of,
Here?
yes.
This is actually a curb cut today, and we're going to close it, so we were going to plant it and landscape that area.
So you are closing a curb?
Yes, ma'am.
I asked you that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking about the curb changes to the south side.
I asked about the curb cuts.
Sorry, we are closing the curb cut that is today the westernmost access point and shifting it to the west there.
And I notice if you pull that down so I can see the back of the station area. So you've got, are those parking spaces in the back there?
Yes, sir.
So does that back area, is that that's in the grassy area right now, correct?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Does part of that spill over into the parking lot that's there now?
No, sir, this is all going to be off the existing, we're actually not touching anything within the existing parking field.
Except for closing the curb cut?
Correct.
So if you could go back to the road, your proposal, as you know, we've just this week implemented a change down at that intersection where there's now.
Correct, there's a flashing light there now, or there's the ability to have a flashing light that was just
No,
recently.
it's something more than that.
Yeah,
It's where
new
we've
lanes.
now added 2 lanes going east
Yes.
on Johnson Ferry. And it looks like you've taken one of our lanes back and made it a westbound lane.
Yeah, because that lane starts right about there, doesn't it, Rebecca?
Right,
Yeah, there's.
right where the curb cuts in, right as you get to the Kroger Shopping Center.
I'm fairly confident that the way these lanes end, they were going to land, and anyway, actually, Abdul will answer that part, but
Okay.
I think we'd already worked out that part because we'd had the city's drawings prior to. There you go.
Right, I'm sure they would have shared them with you, because we've been working on that for a year now.
Yeah.
This particular plan, Abdul Amir again, this particular plan shows the project in 2 lanes eastbound.
Can you zoom, Kathy? Or Susan? A little more. Keep going. Keep going. A little more. Okay, all right. Let's
Great.
see.
So you can see the 2 lanes eastbound on Johnson Ferry Road begin going towards the east after the proposed signal location.
Yeah, after
And-
the signal location, correct, but I think what she was talking about was that little striped median area, and then.
Correct. You see that note here saying limit of construction right here?
Yeah, but the road construction is not limited to that little area, because you're taking back, he said you were taking back some of the right-of-way.
Right, but we have obtained this file from the city.
Right.
And overlaid it with what is being proposed, and so this
Can you lay your
will not
plan
be
right back
impacted.
down on there?
I'm sorry?
Can you lay that plan right back down, so I can see it?
Which one? The other
The-
one?
Your revised plan? Yeah, okay.
But, Richard, maybe you can just remind
Yeah.
me where our new double lanes.
The second eastbound lane actually starts further east from where this intersection is. Right here, we're already down, we only have 1 lane eastbound.
Okay.
The second lane starts east, further east.
So that median looking thing, that striped area, what is there, I mean, are we cutting into the right-of-way on the south, on the neighborhood side as well to get that striped area?
Okay, that striped area is essentially to create an eastbound left turn lane that we recommended.
Uh-huh.
And so, in order to create that eastbound left turn lane that you see, the two through lanes, one in eastbound direction and westbound direction, have to be separated. And then the striped area is the area where you would put back those two lanes back in their original position.
Okay, I see.
So did your study look at the increased traffic that you expected the new fuel center to generate?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many car trips was that?
It's just, it'll be backdated. It'll all be effective January 1.
The traffic study documented the number of trips during peak hours. Here it is. I'll be happy to share that information with you. While I'm getting to it, as typically the fuel centers and gas stations have a significant high amount of pass-by traffic, so we identified that as well. And the net new trips during the AM peak hour for this facility, we had 34 vehicles entering and 32 vehicles exiting in the morning peak hour. And in the PM peak hour, 56 vehicles entering and exiting. Those are new trips.
Is that new trips?
Those are new trips, yes, sir. Not including the pass-by.
So you're saying in the peak hours, it's like 85 or 90 new trips total, combined morning and afternoon?
Yeah.
What about during the rest of the day?
Well, the peak hours is the worst case, so we demonstrate how things would work during the most congested times, and that's why we focus our levels of service analysis, et cetera, for peak hours. But there will be a steady.
What are your peak hours, if you don't mind saying what they're?
Sure. 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the afternoon.
So that number 85 is that for the 7 to 9 period?
No, that was total.
Total, for the day, both?
AM and PM, I guess you just combined it.
Yeah.
I mentioned that 34 cars enter in the AM in 1 hour, 32 exit in the AM in 1 hour. So you could call 30 cars coming in and leaving, 34, 32. And in the afternoon peak hours, I mentioned 56 new vehicles entering and leaving. So if you think about it, 56 vehicles are
90, yeah.
1 a minute. And then if you look at directions, then it could be 1, 50-50. So you could be having 1 car in every 2 minutes from each direction as new vehicle. Now, I must say that in this analysis, I have not taken a deduction for mixed use. Typically, when you have a fuel center associated with the grocery store, some of the trips for this fuel center are customers that are already in the shopping center. And to be conservative, I have not taken a deduction for that. Pass-by trips are trips that are deducted from any fuel center like Quick Trip or BP, you name it. But this particular fuel center, because it is associated with a grocery store and the programs that they have, there will be additional deductions that I haven't taken.
Doug, I know you always argue that traffic can't be a consideration, and traffic studies can be required, but the traffic impact can't.
Your criteria is in your ordinance, so it's proper for you to consider traffic, but traffic cannot be the basis of a denial.
So Doug, I'm looking at one ingress, one egress, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So if a person was coming out, how, in the morning between 7 and 9 or 4 and 6, and they wanted to make a left-hand turn during high traffic hours, they would have to feed out into a single lane.
Yeah, to go eastbound.
Right.
And to make a left, but they're gonna turn with a light.
So there's a light there, I got it.
Yeah, we're gonna have a light there.
I see it, I'm sorry, thank you.
Any more questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, given the questions, the amount of time that was there, I would recommend that you allot an additional 10 minutes to the opposition.
We will. All right, is anybody else here to speak in favor of the applicant?
Thomas DeGrace.
Grace?
Mayor and City Council members, thanks for the opportunity to speak in support of this project. My name is Tom DeGrace. I live at 1284 Ashford Creek Way. We are in the Ashford Creek Townhome community, just north of the project. We're a community of 188 homes. I am the HOA president. I'm also a PE, professional engineer with 29 years of experience in land development with dozens and dozens of shopping center designs that I've completed. As a professional engineer, our profession has an oath to protect the health and safety of the public. And in part, that's why I'm here tonight. It compels me to speak because of the serious safety issues that are currently out there that could be corrected with this project. So since I mentioned public safety, I'll say that living north of this shopping center, my neighbors and I have no problems getting to the shopping center, making a right-hand turn at the McDonald's entrance or the cleaner's entrance off of Ashford Dunwoody Road, or making a right-hand turn on Johnson's Ferry Road and making a right-hand turn on the couple of entrances that are off of Johnson's Ferry Road. Getting out is a dangerous proposition. And just last week, I observed a traffic accident. The car was in an accident trying to make a left-hand turn going north on Ashford Dunwoody Road. There is no way to make a left-hand turn out of that shopping center at a controlled signal. And you take your life in your hands when I try to get back home, or any of my neighbors. Pedestrian crossings is another issue. Yes, in fact, there is a new pedestrian crossing very near where that traffic light is proposed, but I personally have observed this weekend while walking the dog to the park, I crossed the pedestrian walk, pushed the button, the lights went on, car zoomed right past me as I was crossing the road. So either you need to have police stationed at those crosswalks to enforce that crosswalk pretty much all the time on Saturdays and Sundays, because that's used all the time. A traffic signal is a much better control device to protect pedestrians crossing the road. And I've seen kids try to cross at that location, barely getting by. That was before the crosswalk. So public safety is a huge issue, and Kroger is willing to provide this light as part of their overall development, which I think is a great asset to the community, saves the city tens, if not $100,000 of road improvements that is desperately needed for public safety. In terms of economic stability and strength of our community, I do want to say that although it may not seem very important compared to public safety, I'm concerned about the economic stability and the strength of that shopping center without these improvements that Kroger is proposing. Not only this fuel center is proposed, but also interior renovations to the store that will enhance the store and drive more sales, and I'm all for that. I think a vacant store, if for whatever reason Kroger can't make it there, and a vacant anchor store in that shopping center would be a disaster for our community as well as that shopping center. Once the anchor goes, the satellites go, and you've got vacant stores or very undesirable businesses that might lease those areas. So that being said, I'll also say that the opposition has done a really great job of organizing. If you would have seen them back at the public hearings at the church, they were in shambles and disarray, and within the last couple of months, they have really come together and organized their position with stickers and signs, and I'm sure has influenced many people at staff and public officials. But you know, there is a quiet majority out there, people that are reluctant to come out in opposition to their neighbors, to be publicly sign a petition or to be on record as opposing the opposition. And I see that from my own community. I had a petition that I tried to get signed. People came up to say, I don't want to go on record. I just don't want to be part of that fight. Yet they understand and support the benefits of this project. So with that being said, I'll say that please consider the merits of this project. I know it's very difficult to ignore the voices, but there are very important issues here that are beyond
the very organized group that opposes this project. And I'll just say this, and this is a little bit out of frustration, but I do want to go on record as, if this proposal is denied, and somebody dies trying to make a left-hand turn, either crossing the street or with their car, I was.
Not gonna have any of that.
Thank you.
Be respectful to everybody speaking this podium.
It will be a terrible, terrible situation. And if this store goes under for whatever reason, and we have an economic blight for this shopping center, there are examples nearby of shopping centers that have not made it, and we're seeing, used furniture stores and Goodwill stores. I don't want that in my community. I don't want that a quarter of a mile away from my house. So please, consider the merits of this application, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Ed O'Connor.
Mr. O'Connor?
Morning, Eric. Hello, my name's Ed O'Connor. I'm a Cambridge Park resident and member of the Cambridge Park Civic Association. I have 19 years of retail development experience in Metro Atlanta, and I'm the chairman of a local community improvement district. I support Kroger's application for the SLUP and their investment in Brookhaven by remodeling this store and providing a fuel center in Cambridge Square. Kroger's investment will provide stability for Cambridge Square Shopping Center and the many small business owners that rely on the customer base Kroger brings to the center. What would happen if Kroger left Cambridge Square? Kroger has had two community meetings to try to have constructive dialogue with the neighbors and answers questions and concerns. As Mr. Dillard said, the neighborhood really doesn't want to talk. In my opinion, Cambridge Square Civic Association has misinformed neighbors through this process with scare tactics regarding this mega fuel center. I'm still not sure what a mega fuel center is. The No Kroger Fuel Center website states, "Keep our neighborhood pedestrian friendly." I don't think anyone could disagree that Kroger's plan to install a traffic signal will create a safer access point from our neighborhood to the Cambridge Square Shopping Center. Drivers understand red lights. I'd like to thank the mayor and the council and the Brookhaven Police Department for the increased police presence and issuing violations for drivers that have been ignoring the flashing beacons in our crosswalk. I saw police out there last week near my house on Waddleston Way, and I'm happy to see that the police are doing that. However, with the new intersection improvements that have been made in the last week, traffic is traveling even faster down Johnson Ferry, making a protected crosswalk with a red light even more important to our pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. I've seen firsthand that Kroger runs a first-class operation when it comes to its fuel centers. Unlike some of the neighborhood choices in our community, in our city, I'd like to show a little thing here. Unlike some of the other locations in our community that are dirty, sell adult magazines, drug paraphernalia, have slot machines in the back. This picture I took this morning at one of these fine establishments, which you can pick up on your way as you're walking over to Blackburn Park. I mean, having this in our neighborhood is not very good. And I'd like to see some of these businesses transform into other uses, possibly even restaurants like the Corner Pizza, which was formerly a gas station. The neighborhood opposition has done a great job with the organization in influencing the planning staff and the planning commission. I personally, along with many of my neighbors and area business owners I've spoken to, do not agree with their position that the Kroger's SLUP should be denied. The Brookhaven zoning ordinance adopted in September 23rd of this year allows for automobile gas stations in NS, C1, and C2 zoning, provided that they receive approval from the City Council. In reviewing the Brookhaven planning map that I picked up today, this parcel is the largest neighborhood NS parcel in the city of Brookhaven. If Cambridge Square does not qualify for this SLUP, I'm not sure why this was adopted. I asked the City Council to approve Kroger's application for the SLUP and hopefully have a better Kroger and better neighborhood for Cambridge Square. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Next.
There are no more in support.
Okay. Just one moment while we make sure we get equal time to both sides.
Give them 20 minutes.
Absolutely. All right, for those who would like to speak in opposition,
Lindley Jones.
okay. Ms. Jones? Lindley, before you speak, make sure she's got her, there she goes. All right.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'm Lindley Jones. I live at 3516 Stratfield Drive Northeast. I'm the Neighborhood Affairs Chair for the Cambridge Park Civic Association, and I'm a trial lawyer of 22 years. Cambridge Park represents over 220 households in Brookhaven, and we oppose granting Kroger a special land use permit to build this mega gas station. Both the neighborhood associations representing the communities closest to the gas station strongly believe that a 14-pump mega station is contrary to our neighborhood's character as a pedestrian, family-friendly, walkable community, and more specifically, contrary to the designation of our neighborhood as neighborhood shopping, and contrary to the comprehensive plan, past and present. What I've said here before you, and I take a moment to position that, is the language of the neighborhood shopping ordinance. Now, as you can see in this room tonight, and as I'm sure you have already known in recent weeks, the vast majority of our residents are in adamant opposition to this mega gas station. When Kroger first asked Cambridge Park if its residents wanted the gas station, within 48 hours, 100 people stopped by to sign a letter saying that they didn't want it, and Kroger has proceeded anyway, and that's why we're here today. But Kroger's gas station is not permitted by the current zoning law. That's why they need a special land use permit. So unless this city grants a SLUP, it's not permitted, because this area of Cambridge Square is neighborhood shopping, not C2. That's the zoning for a gas station, and that's not what we've got here. One of the primary purposes of neighborhood shopping zoning is to ensure that the area does not become a major commercial center, but that the new development is designed to meet the service needs of the immediate neighborhood area. Now, Kroger admits it intends to service 18,000 drivers. That is not the immediate neighborhood area. That is almost 40% of the population of the entire city of Brookhaven. This 14-pump gas station is designed to service customers from Georgetown to Cherokee Plaza, because they're going to have their Kroger points, their Kroger gas points, and they're going to want to use them, and that's why this gas station will attract actual drivers as opposed to other gas stations that just get drive-bys, if you know what I mean. They anticipate 3,000 fill-ups a day. If you run the numbers, that's 3,000 fill-ups a day they anticipate at that gas station, and that is not neighborhood shopping. The proposed gas station is also inconsistent with Brookhaven's aspiration to be a national model for a walkable urban community. The mega gas station is an inherently automobile-oriented use, and there's nothing that can be done, no modification, that can make a gas station pedestrian-friendly. The mega station will be built directly in the footpath from our community to Blackburn Park. It's right in there, a park being improved and redeveloped for neighborhood use pursuant to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, with which y'all are familiar. The heavy vehicle traffic would actually limit our pedestrian access to the park, and while Mr. Dillard says that walkability doesn't exist, I'd like a show of hands, and I don't even know who's going to raise their hands, of the people who have actually walked in the area we're talking about today. If you've walked in that area, please show our city council. Thank you. Obviously, Mr. Dillard has not been to Food Truck Wednesday. And contrary to Mr. Dillard's representation, traffic is a factor you may legally consider, not only under your own SLUP criteria, if you look at letter D, but also under the case of Rogers v. Atlanta. And I don't like to talk about the law without bringing it with me, so I did. That's the case of Rogers v. Atlanta. That's the case that says the fact that a traffic hazard or congestion might result from a location has been held a valid ground to deny permanent. I want y'all to know that for this time and every time Mr. Dillard comes back before you.
Has that been shepherdized?
It's been shepherdized. All right. My final point is that a 14-pump gas station fails to meet the SLUP criteria because it is simply incompatible with adjacent properties and land uses. It is very, very close to long-standing existing residential homes, and I know that y'all know that. And we certainly request that their motion to withdraw be denied, as this community and this city have expended tremendous resources in exploring this and getting to this point. And now a withdrawal and refiling would be inefficient, it would be prejudicial to us. So we ask for a definitive response tonight, and we ask that that definitive response be a denial. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hold our applause to the end if you'd like.
Mary Ellen Brigham.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ellen Brigham, and I live at 1175 Hampton Hall Drive, and have been asked by the Hampton Hall Association to represent them this evening. I also have been asked to talk because of my many years of retail experience and shopping center development and marketing experience, and particularly in the fact that I've studied these factors at a national level. I taught at the University of Connecticut for 11 years. I developed the one and only shopping center mall management and marketing course with the International Shopping Center Association in New York. And I am a specialist in this particular area and have done consulting for 25 years. So I got involved originally, and I want to give you a little background because I've been a quiet neighbor. I got involved because I felt there was a lot of lack of information about what retail is all about, a lot of scare tactics about losing Kroger's in the shopping center, and that, oh my God, we're going to have blight, and a number of other factors. So I started with simply just talking on the Hampton Hall or the neighborhood website, just sharing my knowledge, just saying these are really what happens in the retail industry. After the Planning Commission meeting a couple weeks ago, I left here with the feeling that not only did not the town have a clear picture of what the fuel retail industry was all about, I also felt that Mr. Dillard was skewing it quite a bit. So I wanted to do some accurate research myself, and I will be honest, I had never looked at the fuel retail industry before. So it was a new endeavor for me. I was not looking for things, I was looking for what is happening. So with that in mind, I have a couple of things to clarify. First of all, clarifying the difference between a gas station and a mega fuel center, which is also known as a hypermarket. The hypermarket began in Europe. It is something that is starting to take place in the United States. The largest provider of this service is Kroger. They have as of 2013, they had 1,153 locations. The second largest happens to be Walmart, and then third is Costco, which we already have one in Brookhaven, and the list goes down. But they are the three top providers of this type of business in the country. So let me just point out a few differences. First of all, a gas station is on a much smaller plot of land. It services fewer customers. It services, its aim is to sell between 300,000 and 1.5 million gallons of gas a year, depending on how big it is. And I'm not talking about the specific ones in the area, but I am talking about gas stations in general. These are national figures. They basically service about 20 cars per hour if they're doing a decent business. That is the national average, okay? The difference there as well is that this business is suffering. Actually, the fuel industry as a whole is not healthy. We see the gas prices going down. That is affecting some fuel industry, but really what the decline is coming from is trends that have been ongoing for about 14 years. In there, okay. Fuel industry has been on a decline for 14 years. The gas demand is less. In 2012, it was down 0.2%. Since 2007, it has gone down 6.1%. The birth of the electric car and the hybrid car That has tripled in 1 year in sales, tripled. Growing use of mass transit. When the cost of gas went so high, many, many people turned to mass transit. We don't particularly have that as much here, but that is a factor nationally, that people are turning towards mass transit more. Stiffer EPA regulations, and I think everybody knows a lot of the things that have been passed by the Obama administration. It's been more and more and more. It's stifling the particular industry. Looking at current day-to-date figures, November gas sales fell 0.8%, even though the prices were going down, and year-to-date it's down 2.1%. In December, the prices are now falling. What the industry is projecting is that will be less price sensitivity. Hypermarkets survive on price as their motivator for people to come. They survive because they undercut all the gas stations as much as they possibly can. And their objective is to sell. They're a volume. In retail, you have certain retailers, they'll sell items, certain retailers will sell, and then certain retailers want volume. They are a volume-based business. So when the traffic study tells you there's going to be 32 cars, they're going to come in between 7 and 9, and what have you, I think it was, whatever, it was 85 for the whole day, or for the 2 busiest times of the day, they'll be out of business. Because the average hypermarket per day, and this is a national average, and I want to go a little bit backwards here. Sales per gallon, usually hypermarkets sell between 3.6 million and 20 million gallons of gas per year. 20 million is actually the national average, okay? So to get that volume, you have to have between 55 and 300 cars per hour to even come close to, and you could argue saying, well, 14 is not as big as 18, so therefore we wouldn't be going for the 20 million, obviously. But you're talking about averages all across the United States. So we're talking about a lot more cars because otherwise they won't be in business. It'll be a failed enterprise. Okay, so then it takes me to my next point, which is talking about shopping center development, like fundamentals. And this is something, it's really kind of a retail-based part of it. And I know there's some people who have done developer work in the audience, but this is something that retailers know. Your shopping center is defined by your major retailer. If you go high-end, you get high-end center. If you have a boutique type of center, you have that, that chemistry goes that way. Right now, it is a supermarket center, old-fashioned, 1960s, hasn't been remodeled since then, and it looks it. And it's not appealing, and it's not something I think that Brookhaven wants in the future. But a big factor is putting the mega fuel center in. You are now defining that center for its remainder of life as a discount center. You can never revitalize it to be anything else. It'll always be discount. Now, some people say, I like discount. That's great. You always have discount stores. The problem with that is a bigger planning problem, and that is that you have stores, you have outdated centers all around that intersection, basically. They all need to upgrade. Competition is coming in fiercely, and they're going to be in trouble if they don't start to upgrade some of their facades and offerings and everything else. So with that, if you take this and keep it as discount, there's not very much incentive for any of the older center owners to upgrade their properties. It's all going to stay the same. Is that what Brookhaven wants? If it was my choice, I'd want to modernize, because Chamblee is going to affect us. The 2 mixed-use sites there, they're going to take some of the spending. You're going to have people going there. Already people go down to town Brookhaven and do shopping there, and you're losing what could be a nice retail center area and walkable for everybody. So that is a big question for you to answer. The second part of it is about retail.
You realize
stores.
that you've only got 5 minutes left, and if anybody else wants to speak, that there's not
I'm
going to be a
sorry.
chance.
Okay. Yeah, it's a professor
You
in
just
me.
wanna- if you wanna
I
wrap up?
apologize. Okay, I just got a little annoyed because the definitions weren't good. All right, other points just want to make is employment. Mega fuel centers hire 1 to 3 people per day. The site deserves to have a better employment record than that. And then the last thing I want to mention is a clarification, and I would be interested to see, I want to put this map down so everybody can look at. Residents around, last I checked, anybody who resides in their home is a resident. They do not have to be paying paying like mortgage people. They reside there. And then my last point is about Georgia Power. I would love to see the letter that Kroger has from Georgia Power, or have it offered to us, because I spoke to a senior vice president at Georgia Power, and I also spoke to the head of the supervisor of forestry and right-of-way of Georgia Power as late as 4 o'clock today. She had done a search, and she had not found anybody who had talked to Kroger, nor had she found any paperwork submitted from Kroger that they would say they would approve. Their stand was that they would only approve if they got a detailed plan from Kroger. They feel that Kroger would follow what they needed, so they're not dissing Kroger, but they as a company would not put in writing that they approve something without receiving a detailed plan. Now, they may have done that since the planning meeting, but as of 4 o'clock today, this woman who's in charge of this area knew nothing about it, nor did the power substation person who's in charge of that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Tim Scarborough.
Good evening. I'd like to thank everybody for listening to us. I live at 3519 Stratfield Drive. I've been a resident for 22 years. I'm the vice president of the Cambridge Park Civic Association. As an architect and a planner, I want to commend the city planners and the Planning Commission for their recommendation, and hope that you guys also follow that recommendation for denial. This is not about traffic. It's not about making a pretty picture, not about making better landscape. This is about the use. We think that there are far better uses that have been identified in the comprehensive plan that we would all love to have there. Restaurants, shops, other things other than a gas station. You know, it's really inherently opposing what we feel like a walkable community is all about. The entrance to this is directly across from the only exit from Cambridge Park on Johnson Ferry. Walking across there, we're essentially going to be walking into the gas station entrance. And it doesn't matter if we have a stoplight. If we really need a stoplight there for safety, the city can put one in. We don't need a gas station to come in there and put a stoplight in for us. So we don't need that kind of development there. There's real concerns that we have, not about the additional traffic volume, but just about the exhaust. When you look at the City Walk location, which is a smaller element than they're proposing here, the fumes were felt about 70 yards away. The closest houses to the pump here is a mere 50 yards away. So the fumes are going to be felt in this neighborhood and into the houses right adjacent to it. And my house isn't that far. I mean, I'm right across from the closed-off entrance to the Kroger Center. The other thing we're concerned with is the watershed. There are going to be spills. Despite the best efforts, there's going to be spills. The fuel's going to be put into the retention pond, detainage pond that's in the back, which probably doesn't meet current EPA standards. That seeps down to Little Nancy Creek, which we know is on the watch list for EPA. So we really don't need these additional hazards brought into the community. Finally, when you look at the volume of traffic this generates, you would see something like this on a 4-lane highway and not on a 2-lane residential street. So I just want you to consider all of that, and thank you.
Kathy, how many more do we have to speak in opposition?
We grab that clock?
Yes, let me just stop the clock.
1:17.
got 10 speaker forms, and I have a handful for the record that's probably a stack this tall.
Okay, so we need to, we'll probably need to extend time again. We can extend time for the other side too, yes, we can.
Well, you can you can extend it, but you also need to afford the
I know, we do.
the
that.
other side the
We
same
got
thing.
it, yeah.
Okay.
How about this? We've got 1 minute, 17 seconds left for the opposition. Is anybody here who filled out a form who would willingly give up their time to speak to someone else? Or do you all want to speak? Everyone, you'd give up yours, or that's one? Ms. Schulman? Who we have? Just state your name. Ms. Craddock? Back there, oh, Mr. Brown? So Craddock, Brown, and Schulman are happy to let others take their time, so maybe just 10 minutes might be enough. Okay. Mr. Tomaszewski, all right. So that's 6. We're down to 6 speakers. All right, so we'll extend time for the opposition. We'll give 10 more minutes to the applicant as well. Is that okay with you, Doug? All right.
Kathy Glenn.
Ms. Glenn?
Mr. Mayor, would you?
Want to do that motion?
You need to do that by motion.
All right, we'll do a motion. Just hold tight, Miss. Is there a motion?
I move that we extend the time to hear from our citizens
And from the applicant?
and, well, they're also. and
Want to
from
state the amount of
applicant.
time, Rebecca?
10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We have 11 minutes, 17 seconds for 6 people to speak. So about 2 minutes, a little less than 2 minutes each, if y'all don't mind.
I'm short.
All right.
I mean, in speech. Good evening. My name is Kathy Glenn, and I'm the Civic Affairs Chair for the Hampton Hall Civic Association. And I have lived at 1785 Johnson Ferry Road for 34 years. The neighborhood shopping designation encourages redevelopment from neighborhood uses.
Ms.
and
Glenn,
not-
would you pull the microphone down a little bit for, just a little top, there you go, right there. Thank you.
Okay, that's.
That's better.
Okay. The neighborhood shopping designation encourages redevelopment for neighborhood uses and not to make a struggling store profitable. There is no demand for another fuel center. A walkable area is encouraged by shops and restaurants. Since we had the sidewalks installed on Johnson Ferry Road from the county line to the shopping center in 2009, there are always people walking to and from the shopping center, even before the sidewalks were finished. We who live in the neighborhoods have known since the days of the Winn-Dixie, you can't go to the grocery store between 4 and 7 in the afternoon if you live in our neighborhoods. A majority of us voted for the city of Brookhaven because we wanted to participate in the destiny of Brookhaven. Let's work to keep Brookhaven beautiful and what our comprehensive plan calls for, and not a major intersection for gas stations. We respectfully request that you deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn.
Buddy Heckenblackner.
Mr. Heckenblackner? You need to stop the clock between each speaker. Susan?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Buddy Heckenblackner. I live at 3617 Dewberry Court, which is a cul-de-sac, and that's off of Johnson Ferry Freeway, also known as Johnson Ferry Parking Lot. There've been some people that expressed concern about Kroger closing up at our shopping center, and I wouldn't want that to happen because I'm a happy customer at Kroger's. I also shop occasionally at Publix, more at Kroger's. But we have Georgetown Square with large Kroger's, Cherokee Plaza, Fountain Oaks over on Roswell Road, so we got a triangle around us with Kroger stores. The gentleman that expressed leaving a hole in the shopping center, and then we get lower use people come in, that's a landlord function. I had a shopping center I used to lease in Marietta. There was a big power shopping center. I had Eckerd's go out, I had Publix go out. They just hung in there, and we finally got it leased back up. I mean, it's not a desperate situation. I mean, we've got Trader Joe's, we've got Whole Foods, we now have Sprouts in town. All three of those might be possibilities. It's been said that people in the area, if they're against it, that it doesn't matter. It says increased traffic is not a reason to turn the application down. Traffic is terrible in that area. If you live east of the intersection of Johnson Ferry and Ashford Dunwoody, rush hour traffic can last anywhere from 3 to 4 hours coming from the hospital heading towards Kroger. It's unbelievable. Mr. Dillard said that he said that increased traffic is not a reason to turn it down. Well, his law offices are on Lennox Road, so I doubt he has to fight that traffic on Johnson Ferry. Mr. Dillard and his son, I believe, are still organic farmers, which I think is a great thing, great for the state of Georgia, but I would say that he is trying to put something inorganic, a Kroger gas station, in our community. So I would like to...
Buddy, you've done your opposition research, hadn't you? You know what law office is. Be careful, he might show up at your house.
But anyway, in terms of the landscaping for the center, I mean, sure. I mean, for the gas station, sure, it'll be landscape, but there's an old expression, you can dress up a pig, but it's still a pig. So I would like y'all to reject this application with prejudice. Mr. Dillard made a couple of statements that walkability doesn't exist, and, well, he could ask the Marist runners, boys and girls that run along there, parents with young children in strollers, my wife and my dog, and other people with all their dogs, people of all ages, and some which go to walk to Kroger to shop. And he mentioned that you don't go to the gas station very often, which is true. My wife goes about every 5 weeks. I go 6 to 8 weeks. So we go where? Kroger. But we go over to Fountain Oaks, where they have it on a 4-lane road. So, you know, I just don't think we have a need at all, and I think it's not a proper thing to put into our neighborhood. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Jim Gallo.
Gallo?
Thank you. My name's Jim Gallo. I live at 3475 Waterston Way. I actually didn't check the box one way or the other, but I guess I'm speaking. I have two things to point out that I think are very important that have been overlooked. Kroger obviously improved their presentation dramatically from when they came to the neighborhood initially. They didn't have any presentation of any value whatsoever. But two things have been overlooked. The topography of the property has about a 24-foot drop on the left side. That's going to have a retaining wall between it and the power station. Now, that's going to have to be filled. So any trees on the power station side are going to be completely hidden. So we're going to be looking right at the power station. Power station's on higher elevation. Also, the detention. They say that they're going to use the detention from the existing lot. It's a 10-acre lot. That lot detention was built, I don't know when, in the 60s, maybe 70s. It's completely inadequate by today's standards. They're going to have to redesign it to take in the entire 11 acres. And when they do that, I would propose that they're going to go underground with it. So now we're going to have underground detention and underground tanks right next to the fuel center. Those are my two comments that haven't been brought up to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo.
Richard Ferguson.
Ferguson?
My name is Rick Ferguson. I live at 1367 Ragley Hall Road in Cambridge Park. I've been there, I believe, for about 19 years. I'm a licensed commercial real estate agent. And, you know, I feel very insulted, and I think this group probably feels very insulted to be threatened that a dirty Kroger could leave and have a blighted shopping center. I think it's just insulting. I think it was mentioned before, and I think it would happen in a heartbeat. I could find a tenant. I can find a Sprouts. I could find a Trader Joe's. I could find a Whole Foods very easily. I could find a True Value Hardware or an Ace Hardware that may want to be there. So I think that should just be wiped off the table. I think also what was insultive is that this group maybe was hoodwinked by certain people in the neighborhood. This is a very affluent neighborhood. This neighborhood is filled with doctors, lawyers, builders, IBMers, very intelligent people. And to say that we were hoodwinked by giving misinformation, I just think is unbelievable. And I also believe that, again, the city can fix an intersection if it's needed. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson.
I have a comment card from John Duffy, but he did not check whether he wanted to speak or not.
Mr. Duffy? Okay.
I'm John Duffy. I live about, I think it's 4,257 steps away from the proposed Kroger gas station on Johnson's Ferry. It seems like two issues that were brought up. We had the Valero gas station, which what Kroger could have, I think, put a gas station there. And they obviously declined. That was in the last year or so. You have a representative, a fellow in the audience who has owned that before. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden, because if it was Kroger's intention to put a gas station there, why didn't they move on that? Other issues I've already discussed with the past president of the Board of Realtors, a commercial division, is that a gas station will have an economic impact on housing. You can expect that the housing in the area will be affected 5 to 6%. And those are two points I think that have not been issued here. What's the impact on other residential homes in the area?
What's the basis for that?
That's just, it's one of those things, as we've already mentioned, or people have already mentioned, it's not a quality entity coming into the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I have the two individuals who indicated they would give up their time, and I have no more opposition.
I will have a minute 58 if you want to, well, you've already spoken, buddy. Hold on. Ms. Craddock, Ms. Craddock, no, we can't do it from the audience. We got to do it from the podium.
I'm Carol Craddock. I live on Tan Bar Court, so I'm really close. And I want to say one thing about crossing that. You're going to add another lane. So we have farther to get across. I've usually got my dog. I've got my grandchild. I'm trying to get across that street. Then you put a light up and you have a person who wants to take a right-hand turn. They can take that right-hand turn, and that's where I'm supposed to cross. So I don't see that that's going to help me a whole lot. The other thing I want to say is we've been given 3 different versions of traffic numbers at 3 different meetings. And they don't correspond at all. We were told they wanted to bring in 18,000 customers. That was at the second community meeting. We were told that they would have an increase of 74 people per hour during rush hour in the morning and 44 or 54 in the afternoon. Then we got a third set of numbers at the last meeting with the Planning Commission. Now we heard different things this time. I don't think we really have an idea of what the numbers really are from listening to what we've been told. Then lastly, Mr. Dillard said that he would like to withdraw or defer the proposal to give more time for discussions with the neighbors. Well, the discussion that I heard was Kroger wants this, and that's why you're going to get it.
Thank you. All right, we got 15 seconds.
Real quickly. Mayor Davis and the council, my name's Steve Littner. I'm the incoming president for the Hampton Hall Civic Association. I'm not emailed you today about Hanukkah. Just a couple of real quick things to Mr. DeGracy, who lives on Ashford Dunwoody Road, and he wants to basically recorrect the traffic. And he's referencing Ashford Dunwoody Road, and I want to make it very clear that what he's saying, what I'm thinking he's saying he would do, is come out on Johnson's Ferry, take a left and then take a left on Ashford Dunwoody so as to avoid having to take a left directly on Ashford Dunwoody, which is just going to bring additional traffic out to that new traffic signal that Kroger is proposing, which adds additional cars on Johnson's Ferry. Taking a left where it's already been established would be a very hard thing to do. The second thing that I want to address is something that Mr. Dillard said about not bringing traffic from outside the immediate area in. It's already been discussed at the two other Kroger meetings that this station is to bring in traffic from Cherokee and Georgetown as in addition to the people in our neighborhood. That's bringing people in from the additional areas that are not immediate to this shopping center. And the third thing I want to say is something to Mr. Dillard, who said that his response to this amount of pumps being atypical is that he can fit them on 1 acre. A hoarder can fit a whole lot of stuff on 1 acre. It doesn't mean that it's appropriate for the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. All right.
No others.
All right. And you got some to submit to the record. Okay, all right. Just give me Susan. All right, Mr. Dillard. Give Mr.
Been
Dillard
doing
about-
this-
Will you give him 11 minutes because we had a little run?
I'm not going to take 11 minutes. Don't worry about it.
Put that down on the record, please.
That's right. You know, I've been doing this 40 years. It just never ceases to amaze me. The misinformation and the misapplication of facts, figures, and other things to try to persuade an elected body to make the decision that they want to make. All this discussion about a hypermarket, and this has been an amazing debate to me, because we're really talking about the gas business. We're talking about why you need gas stations and why you don't need gas stations. The idea that these folks might have some fundamental right to use their property for a lawful purpose that's going to otherwise be overridden by political discord is not what the law is all about, and that's not your job. I do appreciate them mentioning my organic farm, though. You know, if I could sell a little gasoline, I might be able to make some money out there. A hypermarket is a minimum of 150,000 square foot store. This store is 41,000 square feet. Going to generate from those that are already shopping at the store 268 trips per day. They're already there. Johnson Ferry Road today is pushing over 1,000 trips a day. Now, today. And the study that Mr. Amir did is the trips in and out, the additional trips that might be in and out. And, you know, when you look at a 24-hour period, or the period that we're going to be open, which is going to be from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, which is less than what the store's open, we're going to be looking, hopefully, at about 700 fill-ups a day out of folks that are already on the road system, that are already shopping in the shopping system. And I know that sounds maybe like a lot, but when you sit in Ashford Dunwoody Road and you sit on Johnson Ferry, you sit like I did yesterday trying to get to Kennesaw last night. It took me an hour and a half. There's a lot of cars out here. And the reason they want to put a fuel station here is because there are a lot of cars out here. And we've got 2 existing gas stations almost on the same property as on C1, so they don't need a use permit, or C2, they don't need a use permit. So, do we have a right to have a use that's consistent with uses that are already in close proximity to this property or not? Ms. Jones talks about my reference to you can't use traffic. Well, that's the law and I stand behind it. I'm just going to cite to you the Rogers case is a 1964 decision. I'll refer you to Flynn versus DeKalb County, which is a 1976 decision, 78 decision, that said that it's not the property owner's responsibility to try to anticipate every conceivable objection that a local government might have to their zoning request. But it is responsibility of the local government to work with that property owner to not just to achieve the highest and best use of their property, but to give them a reasonable use of their property. Tom Flynn and the Plantation Supper Club there was using rezoning, and they were using the increase in traffic on, I think it was Ray's Road at the intersection of Memorial Drive as a reason to deny his right to use his property. Supreme Court overruled that. And that's all we're asking for. I realize you got a political problem tonight. You got a lot more folks here against us than you got here for us. And it takes as I suggested, some real leadership probably or political suicide. I don't know what we want to talk about, but what we're asking for is an opportunity to have some dialogue. We've been completely shut out because of the first two meetings that didn't go too good, okay? When I corresponded with Ms. Jones about, can we talk? We can talk only if you're willing not to have a fuel station. So what I want you to consider tonight is it reasonable for Kroger to come in here and ask for a fuel station when you got fuel stations almost on the same property at the same intersection? You can't deny it because it might be competition. You can't take fundamental constitutional privileges away from somebody just because you've got opposition. How and in what manner does denying this application result in the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare versus our right to use the property and taking a property in violation of fundamental constitutional privileges as guaranteed by the 4th, 5th, 14th Amendments? So we just submit to you that we feel like we've satisfied the criteria. We've given you some constitutional notice, and I've just sort of reiterated it. But it's important, I think, as you build your city, to allow for a mix of use. And if we want to talk about a transportation or a pedestrian-friendly development, help us provide a safer roadway. Help us provide better pedestrian access. Help us provide a good close-in shopping experience where folks might not have to get in their car and drive as far. The Georgia Power letter is under number 8 tab in the deal. It's an email that we got from Georgia Power that said the engineers had no objection to the use of the property, and I submit that to the record. We just ask that you think about what are the options, how and in what manner could this be worked out? Does a withdrawal without prejudice satisfy the long-term goals and objectives of this area? Versus a denial or versus an approval. If you approve it, which obviously would be what we would like to do, we understand that you would have some neighbors that wouldn't be very satisfied. We don't want that any more than you do. But at the same time, we feel very strongly that we've got the right to use our property and that this is a reasonable request. You've set standards by which we hear it. Nobody else done a traffic study. We did one. Nobody else has done a noise study. We submitted it to you. Nobody else has talked about trips per day and all this stuff. It's all been about guests. We didn't talk about hypermarket because this isn't a hypermarket. This is just a regular old neighborhood 40,000 square foot grocery store. And what we want to do is we want to provide additional services for this neighborhood and the folks that come by this property on a daily basis. We ask that we ask that you allow us to withdraw it without prejudice. If not, we ask that you approve it. Thank you.
Doug, let me ask you a question before you leave. I'm always concerned about reasons and making sure we're legal on reasons we deny something or approve something. When you say, people tend to gloss over health, safety, and welfare. What do you define as being welfare? I mean, is it not that it comes from the Constitution where we're to promote the general well-being and interests of our citizens that we represent? Is that not what you understand being welfare?
No, I mean, we don't have zoning by referendum. You don't, it's
I
not
know, I'm
about
not-
taking a vote.
I
you
know that, I know that. I'm just saying, but that's
But-
it's our
well-
duty under the Constitution to protect the health, safety, and welfare.
The Constitution of Georgia gives cities and counties the exclusive right to zone property under the proper exercise of the police power. And it's under that police power that you've then got away the difference between my absolute unconditional right, constitutional right to use my land for lawful purpose, and this is a lawful purpose, versus the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare. And the only way you can deny my right to use it is by the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare. And that's got to be more than conjecture. It's got to be something that's substantive. It can't be just traffic. It's got to be something that you have to define, because, to be quite honest about it, health, safety, and welfare has been all over the map as far as the Georgia courts are concerned. So it's up to you to make that
It's
decision.
important to me to execute our duties in accordance with the Constitution, and when that, like I said, that term is glossed over sometimes, I think.
Right.
And is it not our duty to protect the well-being and the interests of our citizens?
That's correct.
That's what welfare is.
That's correct. If it is truly protecting the welfare, and if it's not made on conjecture
Right.
and false promises and misrepresentations, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Enough.
President. Thank you.
Did you call me Mr. President?
I heard you're going to run against
Bush.
Clinton, I think.
Yeah, Clinton, who works down at the little Jiffy store, maybe. Yeah. All right. So, the discussion, or any more questions for the opposition or for the applicants from the council? Okay. Is there any question for staff?
Mr. Mayor, you want to close the public hearing?
Um,
You can still ask questions of staff.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. But I thought the public hearing was already held on this, was it? Well, listen, Buddy, and his name is Buddy, so I'm not just calling him Buddy. I can't have anybody speak from the audience. If you're going to speak, we have the comment section is closed, so we're having discussion now. All right. Any questions for staff? Ben, you heard some of the recitation of some of the 10 reasons that staff opposed this. Do you have any comment to any of those refutations?
I think we did a good job of expressing our concerns associated with the request.
Okay.
And the going over each additional item associated with the SLUP request.
Okay, all right. All right, is there a motion? No more discussion or questions? Did you have a question?
No.
Okay, is there a motion from the District 1 representative?
I'm going to move that we, for SLUP 1405, the Kroger Company, who's asking for a rezone from NS to NS for a special land use permit for an accessory fuel center, I'm going to move that we deny the application.
Second.
In discussion. I'll just say this, if you notice, this is a denial, not a granting of a withdrawal. And as an attorney and as the mayor, I don't like to not extend professional courtesy when it comes to people wanting to withdraw or defer a matter at least one time. But, and I know we all have that same belief, that we believe we should give people a chance to withdraw or to ask for deferrals because we believe it promotes civic dialogue. And we've never denied a request for withdrawal, I don't believe, and I don't think we have. But in this instance, if it's ever going to be appropriate, when you have a use that is such anathema to what the surrounding neighborhood could handle, whether it be by, congestion is one thing, but when you just think about you've got this next to a neighborhood, I think that the whole concept of a fuel center facing Waddesdon Way, to me, is our staff's recommendation is spot on, and allowing withdrawal would drag this out and put the neighborhood through, the neighbors and the citizens through unnecessary turmoil and upheaval on something that I think that there's really not much support for among the citizenry and from the council. So I don't apologize for supporting a denial withdrawal, but I just want to make it clear that it's not something that we take lightly, and it's not something that we like to do. We don't like to not extend professional courtesy and not allow applicants of all types to come to Brookhaven and expect that they can be treated professionally. But in this instance, the application at hand, I think, in this rare instance, calls for the denial.
I just want to say that I really appreciate the good job that the staff did. I thought they gave a very careful and reasoned report that also recommended denial. The Planning Commission, as you all know, heard all the arguments, also voted to deny. I really appreciate how engaged so many of you citizens have been on this. There's nothing like a good zoning fight to bring a neighborhood together. But I really appreciate your very thoughtful and intelligent emails. You know, sometimes on these things we get kind of a not in my backyard, or, you know, that's just kind of an emotional reaction to zoning. But really, I think you've taken a lot of care and thought and consideration about what this means for our neighborhood. This is my shopping center too. I walk down there all the time. So every time I go down there now, I think about what that would be like if that was here. I appreciate the applicant coming forth and putting forth a good case. I'm sorry your efforts with the neighborhood didn't please you. It was kind of surprising to me that you would kind of upset the very customers who you would be trying to get if, in fact, it came in there. But in any case, I too feel strongly we should deny this application.
And I would also like to take this opportunity to let folks know, we did get a lot of engagement from our citizenry on this. There were lots of emails in opposition to this, and I apologize if we couldn't respond, hey, we're with you, or hey, we're not with you. That's just not what we're allowed to do. So if you didn't get a response, or if you got a very terse response or a short response, don't take it that we're not trying to engage with you. It's just, if we do something pre-hearing, it can be used against us in the court of law later. So we're very careful about responding or not responding when it comes to how we're going to decide on something, because we can't prejudge anything. And I'd just like to let y'all know there wasn't unanimity on in the neighborhood about support or opposition for this application. There were some people who were in support who didn't come to speak tonight. And, there were some folks, some brave souls who came to speak in support tonight. I just want to let y'all know that please don't let this upset harmony in your neighborhood. If somebody was against this or for this, shake hands later and let it go. Don't feel slighted. This is a turf where you can feel safe about talking about things and expressing your opinion. And I think that's good for all of Brookhaven. We should all be able to speak to one another and disagree and agree on things without fear of being ostracized or vilified. It's not an anti-Kroger thing. I'm a Kroger Plus card member. I worked as a bag boy at Kroger, and I worked at a gas station in law school, pumping gas. So I don't have any biases against Kroger or gas stations. So let's just make sure that we come together after this and keep moving forward with the city, because we've got a great thing here. And thank you all for your engagement. We haven't voted yet. Any more discussion or comments from council?
I'd like to just make one comment. We've seen on council where both parties have come up and agreed, and it's great when that happens. And we've seen it where they haven't agreed. I just want to make this one comment that Kroger has been a great corporate citizen within Brookhaven, and I hope you all remember that tonight. And I hear talk about potential abandonment of a business over there. Well, you are the community, and it's up to you to see what happens there. So I agree with the mayor's comments. Hope there's no ill will after you all walk out here tonight.
All right. Any more? All right. All in favor of the motion made by Councilwoman Williams, signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. We'll take a 3-minute recess.
Never recess.
I'd like to amend the agenda to move public hearing item number, actually, where are we on this agenda? We're at public hearing old business. So basically, I make the motion that we move public hearing old business, agenda item 1, the fiscal year 2015 budget, until after we hear these next rezoning hearings. So it'll be moved to item number 5 in public hearing old business.
Is there a second?
Sure, I second that.
And is there a reason for this? Because we've had deferral requests for these items.
We've had deferral requests, and we have attorneys who are here and citizens who are waiting to hear this,
All right,
hear
so
these cases.
what are we considering first? The number 2?
Well, first we have to vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Miss
All right.
me
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Actually, items on your original agenda, items 2, 3, and 4 are related. They're all related to Ashford Green.
Right.
This came before you in September, well, most recently, September 23rd of 2014. At that time, it was deferred to this date. The applicant has asked for additional 60-day deferral to the February 24th meeting. There's no additional information that we have received. That's new from what you already have in your packet.
Okay.
The applicant could elaborate if there is any new information to share.
Any new information? No, just, nothing.
I'm kidding. We moved them out. We've been working with staff to try to come up with a better ordinance for Ashford Green. And to do that, we're gonna have to need a text amendment and to look at some John Hancock and Ashford Green.
Okay.
That we just asked to be held, and of course,
All right. Okay, is there a motion on items 2, 3, and 4?
I will move that for RZ 13-11, no, I'm sorry. Ordinance 2014-1-01, RZ 13-11. Is that the only one?
There's 3 and 4.
Can I make them all?
Yes.
Okay, wait a minute, I just lost my spot.
You had it right, so you just go to SLUP 1301.
That's
SLUP 1301.
SLUP 1301.
Uh-huh.
And what's the next one?
And SLUP 1302,
And SLUP 1302. I move that we defer them, what was that February date?
February 24th.
To the February 24th meeting.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion?
I would just encourage the applicant to, while we're doing our part on the ordinance part, if you all would continue to have discussions with some of the residents and Montgomery Elementary in particular to see if there's any other issues that we can try to get resolved as well.
we're more than happy to do that. I'll tell you, it would, and given the new names that you gave me, I look forward to doing that.
Okay.
It would be helpful, though, if we had some idea of what we're gonna be asking for under the new configuration. I know the density is pretty important to us.
Mhm.
But I think also the retail component and how we incorporate that into the overall site is the thing. But I will go forward and I will tell you that I will reach out to them before the end of the year so that we can begin dialogue
Okay.
with them.
Thank you.
We've tried, we had some bad
Well-
experience. So
Keep trying.
we'll do it again.
New year coming up.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Good enough, thank you, that's all I ask.
All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the items are deferred. Now,
I think I actually, when I made my motion to amend the agenda, I think did I move it from the public hearing old business to number 5, or did I move it to the public hearing new business, number 5? Because I need to move it to,
you said old business.
You said old business.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
fine. So now we're back to the budget.
So you want to redo it, you want to redo?
well,
You did it the
the
right way.
issues that, we still have a public hearing, the applicants for the public hearings
They've
for
already
new
been-
business.
The old business that already been held.
Yeah, but we've got 3 cases looking.
Right, but we're still in the old business.
Is there ability to move the public hearing old business, item number 5, to a point
Well,
after the public hearing new business?
Do you have any objection moving it over here to K?
No.
Okay.
No.
Move it to section K, number 3, which is
I'm
old
making-
business.
I'm-
Section
That's new
K,
business, yeah.
old business,
Okay.
section K,
All right.
and make it item 3.
All right. I make a motion to move the discussion, the public hearing on the budget, which is
This is the next thing we're going to do.
which is currently item
One.
J1,
Mhm.
to move it to
Item
old
one.
business K3.
Mr. Madison, that includes also the resolution.
Also the
accompanying
resolution,
it. Okay.
all the
And-
attachments.
And public comment will be accepted and taken
Right.
as well. Thank you.
Correct, as stated by city manager.
All right.
Okay, so where are we?
Second. This is why.
I think we're going to do the budget now.
Public hearings of everything.
You're trying to
Yeah,
do
the public hearings and the zonings, because we've got some referrals and attorneys and citizens waiting regular to hear. Yeah. So I've moved the budget till after those things, if I get a second.
There's
All
no
right.
reason that you have to have
Second.
this in the
Okay, I see.
regular meeting.
Do the deferrals again.
Have the hearing first.
Any discussion? All in favor of the agenda amendment, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
How the agenda should be set up.
On which one? Deferred? Do we hold public comment on items we defer?
Well, you have in the past.
Okay. Does anybody want to have comment on the items we deferred? We've had a public
You've
hearing.
already
but-
had the public hearing.
so-
You have in the past.
Okay, well, go ahead, and if you had a statement
Hi,
about
okay,
this one.
thank you. Good evening. My name is Michael Rock. Nice to see you all again. Happy holidays. On this particular issue, I have shared with you folks the commentary and the communication that Mr. Dillard so eloquently referred to as trying to communicate, in which case he was actually fairly pedantic in his response. I think it was actually the gentleman you work for who intercepted that communication and flat out denied to communicate with us at all. And that was after your specific direction to do so in the last meeting. So I'd like that to be on the record. Number two, I'd also like to provide some of the same commentary we heard in the previous item with respect to the traffic issues that we've got in this particular area. And some of my thunder was stolen a little bit, but the reference case where traffic is actually something that you can use to do a denial. In addition to that, we've got the degradation of property values and the public health and safety, which I also outlined in an email to you a couple of days ago. I believe it was last week. And Ms. Williams, thank you for your response. As well, I'd like to thank you for your phone call in which you followed up with me and discussed the opportunity to create something there that we can actually be proud of, rather than something that we have to stand up here every 2 months and constantly deny and feel like we are being encroached upon with our quality of life. And this has been mentioned several times before as the responsibility of the government. I think the first and foremost responsibility of the government, as I understand it, is to protect the interests of the property owners who purchased land before there was a city of Brookhaven, and to preserve that. And putting up 500 apartments is certainly not in that keeping with that spirit. So I just wanted to offer that information in support of what we have previously been discussing. I look forward to any opportunity to discuss this matter. I think I've been, as have many others, very open and honest about our communication. And again, I'll refer you back to the email that I shared with both of you as to the response that we've gotten. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rock. All right.
Erica Kaplan.
Kaplan? Okay, she left earlier. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to those items that were just moved.
Would you just, so we can make sure this is clean,
Uh-huh.
just make a motion to include those last comments in the prior public hearing?
Is there a motion?
I move that we take the prior comments and move them to the preceding
Public hearing.
public hearing.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, they're moved. Okay. Now we're on,
Item number one. Public hearings, new business.
uh-huh,
RZ 14-29, Lauren Standish, rezone from OI to OI for a change in conditions to develop an accessory surface parking lot for the Skyland Trail campus, 1897 North Druid Hills Road. This is a public hearing, and Mr. Song will present as soon as you open the public hearing.
So this one is not, is this a deferral one?
No, it's not.
All right, the only issue, I just want to stop here for a second. The only issue I have is that we have citizens here to talk about the budget, and I thought we were moving these things that were going to be deferred so that the citizens who are here to talk about the budget could have their time too. I'm really not in favor, just want to say this, of moving items for applicants above the budget discussion if there's not a deferral. I understand doing it for deferrals. So, I mean, we shouldn't be pushing applicants ahead of citizens for the budget hearing, because the budget hearing was before these items. If anybody disagree with that?
Well, I'll explain my motion in that it was a motion of simplicity. You know,
Right.
and rather than having two different steps in the agenda, the next issues that you have are items 2
I understand,
and
but
3 and 4,
You wanna do it this
which
way?
all have deferrals, and this one, I think, is relatively quick.
okay.
I'm fine with this.
Oh, if it's quick, then, okay.
This is quick.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, the request again is to rezone from OI to OI. There's
Okay.
an existing property that Skyline Trail would like to use as an accessory surface parking area
Okay.
for their main campus.
All right.
Staff has recommended approval, Planning Commission has recommended
Okay.
approval.
Come on.
My name's Lauren Standish, on behalf of Skyline Trail, and we are in agreement with all the conditions that were set forth by the Planning Commission, so we are requesting your approval.
All right. Thank you. Any questions?
Are we taking comments from the audience on that, or questions just from us? This is a public
Questions
hearing, right?
Questions for the applicants first. If you have any, then we'll.
No, but Skyline resides in District 4, and I just want to take this opportunity to say, this is probably one of the best-kept secrets in the city of Brookhaven. We have Children's Healthcare of Atlanta as one of our gems. This is another gem that we have that people in Brookhaven just don't know about. This planned progression of their campus basically landlocks them at this point. And if any of you don't know about this operation, you need to find out about it. They are a tremendous asset with a national reputation for what they do.
All right. Okay, we'll open the public hearing.
There are none.
No comments? All right. All right, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the, which one is it up here? Where is it?
RZ 1429, and there is an ordinance that goes with that, RZ 1429.
Let me go right over here and do this, right? I move that we approve RZ 1429 and from OI to OI. Is that sufficient?
Is that what?
With conditions?
Yes.
I don't see the conditions here. I'm just going to read RZ 14-29, rezone OI to OI for change in condition to develop an accessory service parking lot for Skyline Trail Campus, 1897 North Druid Hills Road, with recommended staff conditions.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right. Motion
Thank you
carried.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is RZ 14-30, JLB Realty LLC, rezoned from C1 and R100 to PC2 for a mixed-use development consisting of 272 multifamily units, 17,695 square feet of commercial use, 2,500 square feet for a leasing office, and 6,691 square feet for an enclosed amenity area located at 3920 and 3930 Peachtree Road. This is a public hearing. Mr. Song will present when you open the public hearing.
Open the public hearing.
Again, better known as Hastings property. The applicant has requested a deferral for 60 days with the Planning Commission requesting that be remanded back to their February meeting, which is the February 4th meeting. And if that was to proceed, it will come back before City Council on February 24th.
I have a question for staff. I just want to make sure that you know, there is that we have a public hearing at the Planning Commission meeting on February 4th and the 24th. I'm open to people speaking today. I just want to make sure that they don't miss this opportunity
Right.
for a public comment at those future council times, or future meeting dates.
Do you have anything, the public hearing's open, did you have anything?
Just for the record, Mr. Mayor, we represent the area neighbors. I don't know that they have an incorporated name. There's a good many of them. And live in Brookhaven, they adjoin this property, and we've been engaged to represent them. I've been in touch with Mr. Westmoreland about the 60-day deferral, and matter of fact, he asked me to come tonight and make the request. So we're in touch. We have hired an architect and a land planner and an appraiser to come up with what we think would be a good alternative that would be consistent with the overlay and would be consistent with what's being asked. And we just appreciate the opportunity to be able to work with the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Any public comments? Okay. Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we defer case RZ 14-30 to be remanded to the Planning Commission at their hearing on February 4th, followed by the hearing before Mayor and Council meeting on February 24th.
I second.
All right.
Just
Any
the only-
discussion?
Yeah, just the comments that I commend both the applicant and the affected property owners and Historic Brookhaven for their willingness to come together with a starting point to negotiate what can be developed in this area, and I'm hopeful that there's some fruitful negotiations in that, as it is certainly activated the neighbors and neighborhood.
I would just add that this is such premier property, frontage on Peachtree. It's a key parcel right across from the MARTA station, adjoining one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in all of the South, really. So I would just hope that you all are going to bring your A game and bring back to us something that is just going to give us a big wow factor and something that's something we can be really proud of.
So Doug, you represent the neighbors, the
Correct.
citizens, and they've engaged an architect to come up with a plan for a development that would be better than what's the,
Well,
is that what I hear?
you know, what's better is in the eye of the beholder,
I
you
know,
know? But
that's what the task
But I mean,
is?
I told them, and I got representative here, I've rezoned this property before, so I'm not gonna sit here and try to deny it. Okay? But I think there are things that need to be taken into consideration from an environmental standpoint, from a visual standpoint, from protection of the neighborhood that lays to the north, and to provide, you know, the beginning of a true streetscape along Peachtree that would be meaningful for Brookhaven as it goes into one of the best transit-oriented development opportunities in the southeastern United States. So we're very sensitive about that. But these people have got a lot of money invested in these homes. These are not cheap houses back there. So I think we've got to look at those urban examples that allow us to provide not only the urban opportunity along the major corridor, make it more pedestrian-friendly, et cetera, but also how do you protect the integrity of this neighborhood so that you don't have future encroachment. And I think that can be accomplished. I'm not sure the existing plan that's been submitted is sensitive to all those areas, and we have engaged people that we trust that will be able to help guide us through this. Carl and I have been doing this a long time. We've practiced law together for 20 years, so I think we can, if anybody can work it out, we'll be able to work it out.
This is going to be one of the first new projects along Peachtree Street, under LCI for the most part, if I'm not mistaken. And I couldn't entrust it to a better person to help make a statement project out of this that really takes into account all the sensitivities. So we're looking to have this bar level go up.
Well, you got enough, if you look at the history, I was owned all the way down to Brookhaven with a pedestrian bridge over Peachtree in the early 80s. So, I mean, there's before McDonald's and all that. So, I mean, there's that whole corridor across from the MARTA station, and then to the Walgreens that we did here 6 months ago and continue down, hopefully on both sides of the street into the MARTA station, could be a very exciting urban node for everybody. And that's, I think, and could be beneficial to the neighborhood. But at the same time, we got to protect their large investment in their homes. And so that's what we got to be sensitive to.
Thank you.
You know, if you rezoned it before, you probably have some more information about that R100 zoning that's behind the commercial zoning.
Yep.
I personally would love to hear the history of that, not tonight, but at some future date.
We'll provide it.
Because the residents, I think that's like permanent conservation easement or something.
Well, you had that, Ms. Williams, and then you go on down to Brookhaven, and the cul-de-sac cluster, single-family detached that Fritz Reibert did 20 years ago was a part of that whole resolution.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Is all in favor, if we've done a motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Motion carries. Next, number 4. Is that right? Well, 3 was moved to before, so number 4. 3 was the Kroger.
Correct.
We've already done the Kroger.
Now
so
we're on lips.
For
Lips.
Lips.
Flip
SLUP
14.
1406, public hearing, and Mr. Song will present.
Open the public hearing.
It's a request for a special land use permit request for a late night establishment due to the fact that it's located 1,500 feet within a residentially zoned property, which are apartments across the street from the subject property. The applicant is requesting to add an additional dinner show beginning at 11:30, ending at 1:30, and leaving the premise by 2 a.m. Staff has recommended approval with conditions. The Planning Commission has also recommended approval with conditions.
We hear from the applicant.
Luckily, my name is Edward Lafay. We opened up a little over a year ago, and luckily it's been very successful. Just as we have done in the other cities on weekend nights, Friday and Saturday, we'd like to do a third show at 11:30, moving the other shows up. We'll be done by 1:30, serving any alcohol. 2 o'clock will be cleared out. We agree with all of the conditions that, A, it will not be a nightclub, there'll be no dancing. Also,
Dancing off the stage.
what's that?
No dancing off
No,
the stage.
other than performers on the stage, yes. And then the other thing is that the late night permit is not transferable to any other person who may come in on the property, which hopefully they never will.
So I'm glad to hear from when we first talked that your business is doing very well in Brookhaven.
This business in Brookhaven took off better than any of our restaurants have ever taken off.
All right.
Literally, from the second week of business, we were selling out on weekends, and we're doing really well.
You know, I use you as an example when I'm talking to people about investing in Beaufort Highway, about how you bought the property. You're not just leasing, you bought it.
Yes.
And so aren't you glad you bought it now?
I wish I'd bought the property next door, too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that,
Public hearing, I'm sorry. Well, were there any?
There are no
Okay,
comments.
We'll close the public hearing. All right?
time for motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve SLUP 14-06, Lips Restaurant Atlanta LLC, the rezone from C1 to C1 for a late-night establishment within 1,500 feet of residentially zoned property with conditions set forth by Community Development.
Seconded?
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, now we're going to go to budget, correct?
Well, we moved budget to item number 3 under old business.
Wait, I thought I moved
Where I
to
put
1.
it.
I thought it was
Yeah,
K1. You
wanted
said
it moved to
K1.
1?
Yeah, I
Make
thought I
another
made it.
motion to move it to K1.
What's
If
that?
I'd,
It's K3.
K3, right,
Make a motion to move it to K1.
K3.
yeah, I'd like to amend the agenda to move this
This is the biggest
ever-moving
agenda we've ever had.
budget item
Yeah,
to the agenda K, to be
K1.
K1, old business.
Is there a second? Second, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the agenda motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That was a really lame aye.
Trying to
All
be
opposed.
sure that it was in the right place.
All right, motion carries. Budget presentation.
Okay, Mayor and Council, we did go over this in our work session. Mr. Logan will present, and if there is any questions regarding the detail that we went over in the work session, we'll happy to repeat that.
Thank you. As we discussed in the work session, the general fund proposed budget is $20,044,400, which is a 2.41% decrease from the previous year. The slide that's shown represents the revenue categories in the general fund, and there's also a pie graph that demonstrates the components of the revenues in the general fund. And is to be expected, about 75% of the revenues in Brookhaven are taxes, which is pretty typical. The next slide is the expenditures for the city of Brookhaven. Proposed budget, $20,044,400. And it is broken down by governmental activity. There's a pie chart that demonstrates where all of the money goes or is proposed to go. There's also a note on this slide regarding interfund transfers. The first note is in regard to hotel motel that we were discussing earlier. A portion of the hotel motel tax does go back to the general fund, as we discussed earlier. And there's also a transfer out for debt service to the debt service fund to pay for the notes payable for the police cars.
All right.
The next, and we'll go into the small funds. I know that we ran out of time in the work session, so we'll go into the small funds on the next slide. Ready? We're going to skip the detail, because I know that we went into some of the detail while we were in the work session, unless you have any objections. We'll just go into the small funds. The next fund that we're going to discuss is the Confiscated Assets Fund, and we're proposing a budget of $2,500 for 2015, which is the same as the current year.
Okay.
The next fund is the E911 fund. I know that we heard from someone from Chatcom earlier this evening. This will be the first full year for the E911 fund for the city of Brookhaven. We actually started collecting revenues in the last month or two here, but this will be the first full year for the operation of the E911 fund, and the budget is $938,333 for 2015. The next fund is the Hotel Motel Tax Fund, and that's considering the 5% collection that you have currently. And as it is established, $1.8 million is projected for revenues and expenditures, and shown here, transfers to general fund and then transfers to the city of Brookhaven Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is a 501c6, which is going to be set up the first of the year in 2015. The next is your Homestead Option Sales Tax Fund, your host fund, and that's your capital for next year, $6.3 million. Next fund is your debt service fund, and all the money is transferred from the general fund to service the debt that's held by the city of Brookhaven. This is for the retirement of debt for some police cars and equipment that was purchased earlier. And the final fund that the city of Brookhaven has is Stormwater Utility Fund, which is an enterprise fund. The budget for the Stormwater Utility Fund is $2,307,447.
All right. How did stormwater go up so much? The revenues?
I think some of that, I haven't seen the detailed sheets, but that might be some carryover from the previous year.
Well, then what is the actual revenue that we got last year? Was it 1.452 or?
It's about 1.47 million is the annual, what we assess. I don't know what the actual collections were, but.
That sounds about right.
1.47 is the annual assessment.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we got a pretty healthy fund for next year, the budget for stormwater.
Well, some of that came from the first year. In the first year, we collected the 1.47 in 2013, but we had only we had kept about an $800,000, basically built an $800,000 reserve that first year. So that's what's carrying over year to year for the most part, plus.
But do you think we should keep an $800,000 reserve every year?
That was in our initial budget, was to maintain. It was about, I think, 750,000 was our target for reserve, just, for emergencies or contingency fund in case something major comes up that we have to address.
Okay.
So we're there.
So we were there in the first year, yes. Yeah.
That's
So
good to hear.
basically, when
That
we,
was something we were worried about when we first started off.
Right.
It's one of those unknowns is,
Well, remember, please, too, that when we incorporated, we put the county on notice that we would take over the utility in September. So we traveled for 9 months with the county conducting the maintenance for
So, 'cause they
stormwater
were in the
utility.
middle of that
However,
survey, right.
we received the lion's share of the collection of the assessment,
Right.
less what they performed in their improvements. That's why we were able to carry over that amount of funds.
okay, well, good. I just remember feeling a lot of angst about stormwater when we first started off, and now
Right,
I'm not
right.
feeling so much angst.
Now, this does not
Gary?
reflect the newly annexed area,
Okay,
these funds. So
But now-
we'll be accounting for that in the mid-year budget adjustment.
okay.
Is that true also for the hotel motel tax?
Yes.
So that this doesn't include the Courtyard Marriott?
No, it does
Okay.
not.
The good thing about this
Watch
fund,
the trends of that collection.
the good thing about this fund that it's a dedicated fund,
Right.
right? And
Correct. It's restricted
It's
funds.
restricted.
No screwing around with it.
No politician's going to touch this
Yeah.
fund. All right, that's good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, questions on the budget for staff?
I think we pointed out a couple of the issues, just suggestions for clarification in the work session. But for the residents who are here, who are interested,
Who will be making public comment in just a minute?
I think that we are still suffering somewhat from being a startup city, and that we are just adopting our Tyler financial software system, and some of the shifting of the accounts, which needed to be corrected from our 2014 budget to the 2015 account for some of the things that a citizen might consider hard to understand, about how different accounts can shift between accounts within a different, or within the same department. So we addressed clearing those up, and I will be working with city staff to try and convey some of these clarification issues. So moving forward, we can get better clarity, as we had in our 2014 budget, where a lot of the sort of questionable numbers that, where you see technical services and you see a big number, $200,000, you would just want to know what that's all about. So I think that while we need to have a budget that's passed so that the city can operate, and on January 1, this is, in my opinion, still a work in progress. And I'd like to, I certainly hope in 2015 that we have a prepared budget a little bit earlier in the year. I know we'll have some of the kinks worked out with Tyler Financial, but given our citizens' ability to take a look at this thing and getting the clear explanations available to them, in November of 2015 would be a good goal for us to have as a city.
Yes, and one thing I would like to ask in the future, and when we do we're going to do a bound report soon, right, is that each department gets its own page, and that the department's heading is at the top and the bottom of the page, because I'm having a hard time finding, you've got salaries and wages for the police department under community development, but it goes to the next page, and that's not till you get to the end of it, it says that's the police. So if we could just look at the formatting of this, and maybe each department gets its own page, and we don't go on front and back with just one page, and then the next page, and you just see one department per page. And if there's leftover on another page that stays, it doesn't, you don't start another department. Just to make it for clarity, in addition to the clarifying items we talked about at the work session.
Right.
Just be easier to digest and read for us and for the citizens, so.
Right.
A lot of work here, and I appreciate that, but I just want to make sure we can have it easily digested.
The other category that we wanted to see enhanced was under salaries, to have each of the listed postings for that department by
individuals.
By individual title.
Yeah.
And the corresponding salary, so that can be broken out. The other thing I'd like to see in this column between 2014 and 2015 proposed would be an actual spent year-to-date, and that would be based upon whatever the current month is that this is being prepared, and then updated as this progresses. Marie, our obligation as city council is to pass this budget in fiscal year 2014, correct? And
Like it, this is your last hearing
Right.
for the year.
Right.
And so we do need a budget pass so we can begin our operations for 2015. We also are going to be working towards placing a TAN. That will be done in January, which will be coming back to you all again to do that as well.
and that's predicated on this here budget,
Yes.
yes, obviously.
Yes. Remember, the line, and I know I keep repeating this, but I think it's important, the lion's share of the revenues don't come in early in the year.
Right.
We know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's why we do a TAN, and the other,
Nobody's taking issue with the tan, we understand
no, I
that.
know that, I'm just trying to explain it.
No, I got it.
So one of the goals that we, as council, would like to see, as already stated by Councilman Madison, is to have this earlier. And I'm sure when we get the software program established, that's going to be a heck of a lot easier. I know it's transitioning now. But I'd like to set that date as mid-November, no later than the second meeting in the month of November, so that we would have a full month prior to a vote to digest it and to debate it. This is the last council meeting of the year, is that correct?
Correct, unless you all call for a special called meeting.
Oh, why not?
Let's go tomorrow.
Let's do it.
But, in the work session, we did discuss a proposed timeline of when we're going to hopefully have some of these explanation things cleared up. Didn't we?
Understood you to say the end of the year, by the end of the year.
Did we, no, but I thought we were going to do it by the end of January. Did we say end of the year? Great. I love it. That is great.
I assume what you're saying is like an executive summary.
Yeah, it's just more, so I've got a number of issues, a number of things on here that I would imagine that the public would, they're the startling things, like 200% changes from the previous year, That's the kind of stuff that you just want to be able to explain,
So we're
all
gonna,
those categories.
So why we're trying to let, before there's a hysteria on some of these things, we got to make sure that we're announcing to folks that we're going to have a more clear and clarifications within these backups, and a little more formatted a little bit easier for our citizens to review, as well as us as well.
Okay, so that I'm clear, are we talking about the real budget, or are we talking about the worksheets that
So-
you want further clarification on?
Well, I actually think that's a good question to address. I consider the worksheets the real budget, I find that it would be difficult for us to have true oversight of the spending of the city just using the one-page budget sheet on revenues.
Well, no, it's all the pages that follow that cover sheet.
To about page.
The three pages? 1, 2, it just has the revenue and expenditures all
Are the ones with the pie charts?
aggregated? Because after page 3, I've got just the worksheets. I mean, I
Right.
I believe that-
After the pie chart is the worksheets.
believe the
correct.
entire packet is really the budget. And I
Well,
think
we
that,
can, I'm happy to footnote it, we have that information, so we can,
I think that that's something that you need to give us feedback. I mean, if there's a problem operating under, an approved budget that really is the defined worksheets, then we need to know that. But I think that it's a much more detailed understanding of how the monies are going to be spent. And I think in our role of oversight of stewards of the taxpayers' dollar, that's a much more detailed level that I'd like for us to, it's not just a worksheet, but it's actually the budget. But if that doesn't work operationally, I need to know that, and we can talk through that. But, would it be okay as we pass this budget, that it's just passed in its entirety? with the worksheets attached, or is that something that?
I would feel more comfortable if you note that it's the budget plus the worksheets that accompany it, because
Right.
one of the constraints is on the worksheets, it doesn't allow flexibility on my part to work with the individual departments. If something happens and I need to be able to move money up and down in the columns,
Right,
not to add to the amount, but to be able to shift if you all want a certain improvement and those funds are not available in that line item, it gives me the ability to find money out of supplies or get it out of gasoline or wherever I can find that within that respective department. So that's,
I think it's something that we may need further discussion on how we
can
work
do it.
through that.
It's
you know.
done.
Right,
So it doesn't,
Right.
we're not creating something new. I just,
yeah,
just for purposes of budgeting for chart of accounts and governmental budgeting,
Yeah.
this is
Right.
what's typical.
right,
But you all have been accustomed to the worksheets, and
yeah,
we can do that. I just want to be clear that your city manager needs flexibility to address any directives that come from the council for particular departments to be able to fund certain improvements if that line item is not there, because then what happens is, every time you make a change to this,
We
we're
have to
back,
come back and vote on it,
talking
right.
about it again. So I want to be
Amend it.
very careful of that.
right, and
'Cause
I
I think you'll
understand.
get tired of it.
Yeah, I understand
Right.
that completely. I mean,
Right.
and that's why I said, that I need your feedback on how we work through that, because operationally, I don't want to, you to be calling
That would
special called
certainly
meetings
slow
just
it down.
because you need to, get the police new guns or bulletproof vests or
You
something.
know, our biggest spenders are the police department, the biggest.
Right.
Followed by Public Works and Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
And then, of course, operations, from the salary standpoint with the accompanying benefits. If changes occur there, then we have an issue on being able to accommodate the benefits that go along with that person.
Yeah.
If we're recruiting somebody to come in and we might have a position that hasn't been yet hired, but we can bring that person in for maybe 10% higher than what we were thinking about, but to get somebody that we need, that gives me the flexibility to be able to respond accordingly. So
Right.
that's all I'm looking for. I have no problem going through and providing the detailed information that you
Yeah.
all want. It's available, and we can certainly give it in full explanation. I just want the flexibility so that when you all are asking for something, I'm not telling you each time, sorry, we have to amend the budget.
Right.
Because it certainly restricts operations.
Yeah, no, I can understand.
So we just need to have some kind of, this with the backups just a little more clarified and,
Why don't you just call this the exhibits?
oh, yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying, in the next couple of weeks, just something that has a preamble about it and says what we did and what we're doing, what our plans are, and then giving all the numbers and just making sure and we can put it online and people can see what we've done.
I will tell you, this was a monumental task.
I'm sure it was.
You all have no idea, but I'm sure you appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do.
I spent over 2 hours with Councilman Park going through every line item.
Well, we know.
So I want the public to be clear, too, that we are converting from what was an archaic accounting approach that did not keep track of all of the funds that were not only being expended, but being received. And this is really the format that I would ask respectfully that you become more accustomed to.
Right.
We can have the backup sheets and call them exhibits.
Right,
That can be your cliff notes.
right. Well, the backup sheets need to be clarified, too. That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm happy to do it.
Right.
This first rendition is probably more confusing than the futures will be because you're making your transition between the
Right,
old
well,
and
you're
the
going to
new.
be able to have what you've been asking for as
Right.
soon as we finish all the encode, that you're going to have to the penny of what's going on every month.
Yeah,
We've
right.
not had that before.
Yeah, I
And
think-
nobody's been more frustrated about that than me.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I believe this is going to make all of the staff's lives a lot easier to have
It'll make
really
your
good
city
financial.
manager's life much
Right,
easier.
right.
So I have a quick question, I have a couple of questions, well, a question and a point. At what point towards the end of the year would we feel comfortable forecasting the next year's budget when we have a sense of the revenues that will come in, any expenditures? I mean, when can you actually start that process? Is that October, November? I mean,
Well, we started this in September.
Okay.
And, in fact, August was the call that I made to Rob.
Okay.
So we've been working on it since August.
So as far as I see, this has been, in consulting terms, one big change management process.
Yes.
Change management project. And one of the things that, one of the principles is you lay down the foundation of the process for the next year. But in the current situation, you know, there's a lot of manual intervention. And then as long as that manual intervention is documented and explained, it generally meets change management best practices and criteria. So that's basically what you're relaying. I understand that, as long as there's transparency, as long as it's fully explained, you know, I'm comfortable with that, being new myself to this process. But now we need to set the expectation for next year. That, you know, because we have this new process in place, you know, that, so rather than taking a lot of different things and moving them around, you already have the structures in place, there's processes in place, and you just fill them in. So whether it's ERP or, you know, financials, I understand the complexity of it. I think we just need to explain that to the citizenry and set the expectation that what we see today, we'll actually see in October, November next year. Okay.
Well, you'll be able to start seeing some early numbers that are reliable. They
Okay.
haven't been reliable
Right.
until the last month.
And we can start publishing them, because to this point, we really haven't published much.
Right.
So.
Well, we publish a monthly report,
Mhm.
and that is going to be also more reliable because of the Tyler software.
Right.
And the other mention that was made by Bates in taking a look at what has been spent year-to-date, we'll be able to give that to you very easily for each category, each line item. So you can really see, this is what was budgeted, but what was really spent, and what are we projecting and proposing for the following year's budget.
I just want to make one comment about, I don't want us to miss the headline on some of the budget items. I know it's, I too like to go through all the details, but I do want to congratulate you on yeoman's work in getting this done in the middle of losing a finance director and pulling some great help in. I think you did a great job on that.
Thank you. And thank you to Rob.
Yes,
For sure.
thank you for coming in and working two jobs. But I do want to point out, if you hadn't noticed, to me, the headline is that we have about $5 million more than last year in our budget, which is pretty significant. In the early days when we were just looking at feasibility studies and people were saying we're going to go broke as a city, it's kind of reassuring to see that clearly we've come out of the recession. I don't think we were hit as hard, but Brookhaven is booming, and we're seeing the effects of it, you know, across the board. I'm particularly excited about the increases that we're seeing in the host money, which is a good 1.3 million, which is allowing us to significantly increase the amount of money we're spending on our parks. If I'm reading this right, we're going from 400,000 to 3 million of capital expenditures, and we're going from 1.6 million for public works, which is paving and sidewalks, to 3.1 million. So that's huge, and that's going to be a big year for us, and it's going to be.
Those are the headlines to me.
Yeah.
The 3 million parks, 3 million in paving, and the
Yeah.
reserve. I mean, that's just.
Now, part of that is that we were setting up the police department last year, so a big chunk of money went, you know, to that this year, but now they've got their digs, and they're good, and they've got their cars, and I think we're pretty well funded. But we are going to get 9 more police, too, and you heard the applause earlier for that. I mean, I think people really appreciate the kind of high-quality public safety that we're providing. It was one of the most important drivers of cityhood. And so that, I couldn't be more pleased with how all of that's turning out. So many bright spots in the budget. And as you've told us, these are conservative estimates. And we haven't even had a chance to see yet the new vendor contracts
Right.
that we'll have, which hopefully might even come in a little bit less, which will allow us to spend some money on some of these other projects. So I see just a very exciting year ahead for us in the council, who I can't wait to sit down and really start spending our time setting our priorities for our work projects, looking through our master plans that we spent a good deal of this last year
Right.
doing, and really deciding. We've had a great retreat. We've set our goals, we've set our priorities, and I think our citizens, and me too, I'm anxious for really some more visible results.
Right, and we'll be doing that in January,
Yeah.
coming back with the work programs for each of the planning documents and laying out what the steering committee members showed as priorities for you all to take a look at. And within those priorities per department for the capital improvements, you'll be setting the priorities as to which programs will go first. So it's going to be not only setting that priority, but being able to see in the same year visible impact activity occurring. So we're ready to move. And Rob and I purposely were ultra conservative. I would say there's probably another $500,000 to $750,000 that we didn't show that could come from property taxes, hotel motel tax, insurance premiums, and I'm probably being low on that 750 number.
All very exciting.
And we haven't seen any of the generated revenue now out of the new annexations.
No, correct. The first revenue that you're going to see here within probably the next 30 to 45 days is our welcome letter to them to collect their business licenses. So we'll be working on that. 911 is a big thing. We're doing an audit there. We're going to be doing an audit with Rob's help to do a cost analysis, a real cost analysis for all the permit fees that we collect. And we'll take a look at that to what our real cost of delivering those services are, employee versus vendor, and making sure that the burden of the upcharge on the vendors is not carried by the citizens. So we're going to look at that, and we'll be sharing that with you in the coming weeks. I'd say probably February we'll be looking at those figures. So a lot of exciting times ahead.
Yes. It is exciting. I mean, like Rebecca said, the headlines are the most important thing. We have to make sure we promote that and let people know what their city's doing. But we also have to be ready for the questions and the probing questions and the folks who want to know what the devil in the details, and have both ends of it, have the headlines and have the details so that people can digest it easily.
And know the council members are not getting a pay raise, even though it looks like in the council budget is
Right.
up. That's because we
We're gonna get-
share
yeah.
an administrative assistant.
Right,
But
right.
we're stuck at $12,000 a year, so that's
Right.
that.
Right.
Good job to the city manager.
Yeah, good job to the city manager and to Rob and the staff and whoever else helps you do that. I don't know, I mean, I guess all the department heads have to get all the,
They submitted, but it's right here, Rob and myself.
Okay.
We got to work through Thanksgiving on that, the
Oh.
weeks leading up to it.
oh, that's
That's
fun work.
Last weekend, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, we talked a couple of times, so
Good.
it's,
Yeah, budget
it's
is no
been-
small thing, obviously,
No,
for a
it is
city
not,
this size.
and I take it very seriously.
And
It's the most important thing we do.
And just to, just from my knowledge of consulting engagements where you do a transition from one system to another, generally they're a minimum of 6 weeks, and that's if a team works basically 16-hour days. And they generally run, anywhere from 3 to 6 months at a minimum, and sometimes years. So for the fact that you've, transitioned in that short period of time and to this level, I think is commendable.
Thank you for recognizing that.
And,
Appreciate it.
and just having worked on those engagements, not necessarily in the public sector, but process change isn't easy.
No,
It's,
it keeps you awake at night.
I've had a lot of, evenings waking up to the sound of my own screams on this project. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It didn't get that bad before you did it. Waking up to your own screams did it with the budget.
Well, I didn't get to wake up because I was awake.
Yes. All right. All right, where are we now? Public hearing.
Terrell Karstens.
Sorry for the wait. We've been pushing this one,
I've got
not
staying
unintentional.
This is the most patient lady in the entire room.
Terrell Carson's 2444 Oostenala Drive, speaking as a private citizen only. I've only got a few questions. Was there principal reduction in the police car leases and the GMA equipment loan, and if so, how much?
What? Hold on, you gotta slow down.
Oh, sorry.
Say that again.
Was there principal reduction in the police car leases, which is through the Finance Authority, and the GMA equipment loan? And if so, how much? Or did we just make interest payments on it?
And police car leases, okay. All right, go ahead.
What is our anticipated TAN request for 2015? Just estimate approximately?
I think we said, didn't you, told us of that, didn't you?
TAN is probably going to be right at 4 million because we have to accommodate for
Right.
the annexation. So we were looking generally at 3.4,
Mhm.
and so we'll go to 4 million.
All right.
And then, what were the findings and outcome of the state audit that we submitted this year?
State audit?
We had a clean audit. There were some, and I'll be sharing that with you all in the coming weeks. It was a clean audit. There were some suggestions that were made from a managerial side. A lot of that is being cured because of our Tyler software.
Okay.
You just can't run a city on QuickBooks.
Yeah, you cannot, yes.
So the audit report's been issued by
It has been
by
issued.
Malden and Jenkins?
Yes, it
Okay.
has been issued.
All right.
And sorry, I had to leave during the work session, but I understand there's a proposal of about a 3% salary or increase
Right.
in raises, and that's reflected in this budget already?
It is.
I believe it is.
It's
yeah.
reflected already in the salaries that are proposed.
Right.
And I mentioned that during the work session.
Okay.
And then lastly, on the monthly reports that were on the website, the ones that were earlier this year were fabulous. I know that a lot of things have happened and there's a lot of stuff to do at the end of the year and stuff, but they became smaller and smaller and less info, and I'd like to see the itemization and the details on those monthly reports go back to kind of the way it was at the beginning of the year. That would be greatly appreciated. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Any comment on the monthly reports? You just,
It's noted.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right.
And I think at our work session, we talked a little bit about those monthly reports and and having, sort of the check register, the budget and actual expenses, and I think those are the things
Going to
that
be
if we
so
can do.
helpful, and hopefully it's just going to be a matter of pressing a few buttons.
Yeah,
Did you
Right.
note the question about the?
But it's still being coded.
Right.
We're still in the throes of that.
And just note the question about the principal reduction in the police car leases.
and the GMA equipment.
Right, right.
Lease,
All right.
equipment lease. I think that,
All right,
Right.
okay.
Yep.
And you'll get that in the future. Okay, all right.
Oh,
All right.
what was the term of that loan for the police cars?
Was it 5?
5 years.
Yeah,
5 years.
I thought.
All right. Any more questions for staff or any more other citizen comments? Okay.
well, I do have one other comment, though, just to staff. On our budgeting, one of the things that I think that we need to do is, allocate for those future expenses now in our current budget. So if we know we're going to be buying, cars in 5 years, we need to be budgeting for that now. I mean, in essence, what we're doing with the lease payments is, if the term of the lease equals the equipment lifespan, then you could just take that number and put it on the budget in perpetuity. But I think that as we look at cash payments or non-financing payments for capital costs, things like I think in the budget, we've got some anticipated future purchases of automobiles or things like that, that we budget those things over the lifespan of the equipment. I don't know that that's considered, being considered, but I think, if we know that we've got expenses down the road, we need to be budgeting for those things now.
Are you
'Cause
talking about reserving it, or are you talking about like a capital lease program where?
I'm talking about reserving it because, I don't want to see our city come up upon major purchase years where we're buying, 50 new
She's men-
cars.
She's mentioned that before. You've
Yeah,
talked
and-
about that.
And, we've got the funds, all of a sudden in those years, we can't, pay the roads the way that we did in years 1 through 4 or something like that.
Well, the chief and I have
So,
already talked about how remember, you had a police department start up
Yeah.
all at one time in July of last year, and so we've been talking about how we transition and roll those cars off, and we've been looking at, starting in the next year or so, taking a chunk of them, replacing them, and hopefully, if they're not in bad shape, and I doubt that they will be because they're properly maintained, we can surplus a lot of those, and then some of those will go down to the different departments to use. So, we're going to, once the police department finishes, you can still get another 75,000 to 100,000 miles out of it if you're kind to it.
Those are great cars.
I have one other consideration that I'd just like to throw at you for thought down the road, and that's, I went to the DeKalb County Legislative luncheon or breakfast this morning, and it was up front in our face that they're going to be looking at how that host is going to be
Yes.
distributed. So it's an important part of our budget. We do
Yes.
a lot with it. It's probably going to come in 2016 at the earliest. And I think, just as suggested by Bates, that we anticipate the replacement costs on large expenditures.
Right.
We need to be prepared that this money is not going to be what it is now.
Right, and remember, I brought that up to you all in our retreat
Mhm.
this summer. I said, with new cities coming on board, the host dollars are going to go down. And I'll caution you again when you start talking about in June to set the millage rate,
Mhm.
because that's going to be an issue on if millage rate is reduced and our host dollars are reduced, there's going to be less funds for capital improvement. So it's really going to be a balancing act. And, this 2015, it's not going to be an issue, but it will be in 16.
Right.
And we'll have to take a look at that. And
We need to think about it, because the majority of our paving, for example, may be coming out of host.
it does come out of host.
Right, so all of a sudden, if this crashes, and that means we cut off paving.
Right.
We need to be anticipating that, right? I
Right.
do agree with that. So that's a challenge we have.
Yes.
The only other issue that I think some of us have some concerns about is the raises.
Yes.
That are put in there, the 3%. I don't think we really have any problems with the actual amount, but I think we talked about this last year, that we were hoping to see a policy implemented, where there would be a policy about how these raises are granted, and what kind of performance and what sort of metrics. And I think it's the desire of the council to, in fact, hold off on these raises for now,
Okay.
short-term, very short-term, until we can get a policy in effect, hopefully by the end of January even. I mean, I don't think it's, do we
Well,
agree it's?
I might add, that might be a short-lived policy, if you'll allow us to walk through that, because under the city manager's worksheets, there's $270,000 listed and included for professional services. Part of that, and there's a number of studies, one is a City Hall feasibility study for City Hall Police and Court. This is our future, where do we go, and what type of facility do we need? Also, the Brookhaven Innovation Academy and the Performance Salary Review and Survey, which also takes into policy and the rating and the performance related to that. So that's something that we're
Yes.
going to, consult out.
What do you think is the time frame on that?
Well, with these studies, I want to go ahead and launch the RFQs for them in January, so we can start getting them in and we can be ahead of ourselves. So Brad will be assisting me with that. And I'll just since we're talking about it, we're also working on the citywide standard operating procedures. Rick has been taking the lead on that. Susan Cannon is involved in that as well. Auditing what I've told you already, our business license fees as well as our franchise fees. We're looking at that, looking at conducting a citizen survey. So on average, it's between $40,000 and $45,000, so the budgeted item for those services are $270,000. And that'll be all footnoted and fully explained as to what those dollar amounts are. So we can set that policy, and I'll have Rick involved and Susan involved in helping on that. But I think, we want a foundation of a performance evaluation and all of that goes with the HR component of it. So-
Well, and I'm aware that we've got some raises coming up pretty quickly, too.
Yes.
So we don't, even if we have to pay a few people in arrears, I think we can do that. But no, we don't, our intent is not to hold this up, but I do think we want to see a policy in place.
Yes, and just, if you work on that policy, we'll get it in place, work it with the city attorney and use some of his resources, if you would, in helping to formulate that policy. Maria, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to include Rick,
Yeah.
our HR director, so he can.
That's a given, that's a given.
Yeah, okay. Well, I didn't know if, I just wanted to say it to be sure I understood.
Yes. All right. Is there a motion? We'll close the public hearing. Okay, no more comment. Is there a motion? Yes, it's just Resolution 1615,
Yes, there's a resolution.
ID 1615.
Yes, it is, 1615.
That's the file number. I'll
Oh.
set the resolution number.
Okay,
Just say it really well.
okay. It's up under public hearings, old business.
Item number 1, under J, page
J1.
2 of the agenda. Consideration and approval for a resolution to adopt the budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2015, and ending December 31, 2015, for each fund of the City of Brookhaven pursuant to Article 5 of the City of Brookhaven Charter, appropriating the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, adopting the item of anticipated funding sources, and prohibiting expenditures from exceeding actual funding sources. That is the title.
And then the budget is attached as an appendix.
Just say our ID 1615, Resolution 16. It's on the agenda, J1. Okay, it's 1615. Just say Resolution 1615. Yeah, right there. The second,
J1.
back of the first page, right there. There you go, J1. All right.
I will move. January 1st, 2015, and ending December 2015 for each fund of the City of Brookhaven pursuant to Article 5 of the City of Brookhaven.
I'll second.
With the
you were done.
details attached as an exhibit.
Right.
And also asking that we will not be authorizing the raises at this time, subject to a policy being developed by the end of January.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll continue that second.
All right. Any discussion?
Good job, staff, and
Yeah.
thanks for all the hard work on it. It's a lot to put together a $30 million budget in
Yeah.
a short period of time, switching systems, so great job for the hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Get some sleep.
And take a vacation from that vacation you had.
Yeah. All right. Any more discussion or questions? All in favor of adopting the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it passes. Now we are down to somewhere.
Okay, now it's the ordinance 2014-1107, consideration and approval of ordinance to adopt Chapter 13, Public Health of the Code of Ordinances.
This is under old business K.
Yes, K1,
K1,
correct.
the old K1.
The old K1,
Right.
yes.
All right.
And if I may, we've provided two different versions of this ordinance.
And where are they?
In your agenda package. On packet page 959, that's the version without e-cigarettes. On packet page 966, that contains the version with e-cigarettes.
Yeah. I have
Two ordinances.
clicks. The ordinance hadn't changed, has it?
Well, we have two versions
Yes,
of it.
changes were made since the last meeting based on the comments that we received from council.
Right, but not changes, I mean, it's the completed ones are in our agenda packet that we have here, right?
Correct. The final clean version was in your agenda packet.
And so I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2014-11-07, consideration and approval of ordinance to adopt Chapter 13, Public Health of the Code of Ordinances, the clean health ordinance with e-cigarettes is the consideration, that considers e-cigarettes are
If I
in the
may.
same boat as regular cigarettes, right?
If I may, before this, I believe we need a public comment period.
Yes,
Do we?
please.
There are no comments.
None? How
Okay.
about no e-cigarette?
So just so I'm clear, the
Go ahead and open it and close it.
Open the public hearing. Close the public hearing.
Thank you, Tom.
my intent of the motion is that e-cigarettes are considered to be the same, in the same category as regular traditional cigarettes.
You just made a motion. I think you need a second before we have comments. All right.
Well, I was just clarifying my motion.
Okay.
For or against e-cigarettes?
He's against them, but he wants them to be included. He wants them to be regulated like cigarettes. So he's saying that
Yes.
scientifically, water vapors are just as harmful as secondhand smoke from tobacco, which is totally unproven. but- No science basis at all for that
Nothing like an
assumption.
objective conversation, right?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? Okay.
So do y'all understand which
Second.
ordinance we're
Yeah.
talking about?
The Big
The
Brother.
attorneys?
Big Brother ordinance.
This is
Okay, if it's. big-
Regulating
if
e-cigarettes.
it's
Which
big-
includes it.
If it's Big Brother ordinance, then there shouldn't be any controls, any restrictions on smoking.
I don't really,
But there are, and there's been proven reasons why.
Right.
And e-cigarettes do have nicotine in them. Do you know they flavor them now, different
Yeah,
flavors?
yeah,
And you
but-
know who the biggest users of e-cigarettes are?
Who?
Kids in school.
We're not regulating
Yeah,
against them.
But we're teaching them inappropriate habits for a long time, better health. So it's the same concept as with cigarettes.
I think the whole basis behind cigarette legislation, where people could smoke, was based on secondhand smoke affecting other people who weren't smoking.
It was primary smoke, not secondary, and it was lung cancer, and it was one of the highest causes of
No, I'm
death.
talking about for where you can do it.
Well, we're talking, okay, that's fine.
Mayor, is there a second?
Is there a veto?
With John seconded.
Yeah, John seconded.
I seconded.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Okay, moving along. Ordinance 2014-11-19, consideration and approval of ordinance to amend Chapter 15, adopting new Article 13, wreckers. Are you tabling?
Well, no, if you would open the public hearing, please.
On K2, open the public hearing for wreckers. Close no comments? Close the public hearing. All right, is there a motion for deferral?
We suggest that there's still some items that need to be taken into consideration. If you would, please table it
All right.
till the next meeting.
Or defer it?
Table.
What's the difference in table and defer?
Well, they have the same effect, but deferring means, this is something that's
All right,
already.
is there a motion to table?
I make the motion, I move that we table the consideration of ordinance 2014-11-19, consideration and approval of ordinance to amend Chapter 15, adopting new Article
Okay.
13, wreckers.
I second.
Any discussion?
Do I need to put a date on when we're tabling that
The
to?
13th.
To the 13th of
January
January
13th.
2015.
All right, is there a second?
Stands.
Is there a discussion? All in favor of tabling, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So our first meeting in January is January 13th.
13th.
Okay, all right. New business.
All right. Ordinance ID 1606, consideration of approval of an ordinance for adoption of Chapter 12, Fire Prevention and Protection of Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookhaven. This is public comment.
Is there any public comment? Any public comment on number one? All right. Is there a motion?
Would you close the public hearing?
This is not a public hearing,
Public
this is just public comment.
No.
Oh, excuse me.
All right. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the ordinance for adoption of Chapter 12 of the Fire Prevention and Protection of the Code of Ordinances for the city of Brookhaven, Georgia.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Can we just, in these motions, identify them as the ID number?
I'd rather you at least describe it a little bit, please.
Okay.
We're in the last hour of this meeting, aren't we? This is the one.
Yes.
All right, number-
I hope the last 15
Say
minutes.
the chapter number.
Okay, ordinance, number 2, chapter 14,
Article 1.
article 1. Is there a motion? Is there public comment? Any public comment? All right. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve consideration of approval of adoption of Article 1, Chapter 14, Land Development in General of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Brookhaven, Land Development Definitions.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor of adopting the ordinance, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Number 3.
Consideration and approval of adoption and amendment of Chapter 14, Land Development, Article 2, Environmental Control of the Code of Ordinances.
Is there a public comment? Oh, we do, all right. Come on down.
Carol Carson, Zeusnella Drive, speaking as a private citizen only. I'm not sure if this is the one that it falls under, but I just wanted to remind you all of the granite curbing, to address the
Yes.
granite curbing, the preservation of it, the restoration of it, the storing of it, when it's taken from one place where it can be utilized within the city, but the granite curbing, please.
Is there granite curbing in this ordinance section? Because that is something that I asked about before, I believe. Because we've had an instance where somebody on Windsor Parkway removed granite curbing and put concrete back, and it looks horrible.
I don't believe so.
We have,
We need to have that.
yeah,
It needs to be,
I don't know if that's just a policy thing or is it an ordinance? What's,
Well, we should include it in the ordinance to protect it so that there is a standard. In fact, there should be a standard of how it's put back in place. So, yes.
This ordinance is about the land disturbance itself and when you have to have a permit.
I remember seeing in the subdivisions, it references new curbs being built, but it doesn't make any reference what kind, the construction of them.
Yeah, we would want to spec that out.
What you're
so-
concerned with are existing neighborhoods
Well, existing
where,
granite.
where they're taking the
Where
granite
there's
out and
gran- yeah.
replacing it with the,
concrete,
Yeah, it's,
back
and they're
curb.
selling the granite.
yeah. It's a citywide problem, you know, I'm seeing
being
over and over again.
building code? No, it
Being
can't
the-
be in the
in the-
subdivision ordinance, they wouldn't have granite because it's
Being
new
the
stuff.
development regulations where you have the, where you
That's the
have
only
you
place
spec
we
out
have
the road improvements.
The only place we have road specifications are.
Sounds like it's an amendment to an ordinance at a future date.
Well, January 13th, can we have some language? Language on replacement of granite, please.
And the repetition of conditioning when they come to zoning or when they go to planning, or it could be one of the conditions, or also the identification, because what possibly could be happening is that there's no identification that there was granite curbing there. And so
Right.
by the time an inspection, by the time, it's like,
Right.
it's gone.
Richard, do you note that in your street surveys? Do we know where granite is and where it's not?
Generally, we do, to some extent, but we're also reviewing that at the time of development permit, and, I mean, we make a comment about restoring the curb and leaving the granite usually in the development comments that we put in there.
Let me ask you this, I mean, for the builder that took away the granite on Windsor Parkway and put in concrete, is that not a code violation?
Yeah, because we don't spec it out that it has to be.
But is it not in the right of way?
But it's in the,
Yeah, it's in the right of
it's
way.
city property, is it not?
Right, but they're probably following the standards that are in place of the subdivision regulations that have straight back curb and a, 12-inch gutter. and-
Oh,
So we would need to include that as a spec, that where it exists, it must be retained. And then there needs to be a method and a standard for how it is returned.
we can come, y'all can come up, staff and legal can come up with that for next meeting, all right?
Are we able to get more granite curbing?
Yeah, yeah.
What we're doing is where we can get it from, like, some of these larger developments, like on Johnson's Ferry and North Road, where they're not having to put back granite, we are getting the granite curb there to surplus it for use and repair. But yes, you can buy it, but it's expensive, so we're trying to surplus. And really, what the policy, I mean, we work out through legal, but the policy should be if the granite curb is removed and replaced, it should be, it is city, like the mayor said, it is city property, and it should be returned to the city.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I think the point is to try and retain it. You know, if it was there.
I'd like to put it back in, I mean, there's
To
probably,
retain it, it's not just to collect it.
probably a 15-foot section on Windsor Parkway that they took out. I mean, I'd like to have a little fun maybe to,
Well, if he has surplus, he could put it back.
yeah,
Carol has clarification on this.
Well, you have to take out the concrete, didn't they?
yeah. You know,
Put-
If
Go
you
ahead.
don't mind. Why is it not being maintained on North Druid? It's the gateway to the city, it's the entrance
It-
porch, and it's an important street to
It
keep
depends
care.
on the, like, some of the more major roads, it's harder to maintain a granite curb, especially when you get down to the commercial areas. It's harder to maintain long-term. In the residential streets, definitely, it needs to be maintained. But one of the things we have to do as a city is to define which roads we will maintain it on and which ones it's okay not to maintain it on, so.
So has it been approved and cleared that North Druid will not have to take
My
down the
understanding,
granite curb?
I'd have to look at that.
what's that? I mean, that's kind of concerning a little bit. I mean,
It's-
how much more is the cost on maintaining a granite curb and like on Druid Hills as opposed
I
to?
mean, it sinks, and it's just the long-term maintenance of granite curb is, I don't know the exact dollar amounts, I'd have to go get with our contractor on it, but just over time, it sinks down, and having to raise it up, I know we're having to pay like $30 a foot, I think, to raise it back up. So,
There's got to be a way to prevent it from sinking. Yeah.
that's what we're doing when we raise it. It's what's underneath it, but in some, a lot of the older curb we have in the city, there's nothing underneath it, no base or aggregate underneath it, so it gets pushed down. And we are requiring developers to restore the height of it when they develop, but there's some that are going to the extent of taking it out and replacing it with concrete.
So the policy should include that if it is replaced, it needs to be footed correctly.
Yes.
So we don't have the long-term.
That's what
Yes.
That was what
Yes.
Marie was talking about, was the specifications for, all right, can you give us, in the future, in the
Yes.
next meeting, just kind of an assessment of what it would cost to replace some of the areas that are concrete with granite and vice versa,
We will.
Just to
Yes.
like to know about that.
Be great to get an inventory in Brookhaven, where we are with this. I mean, did our laser truck pick up any of this?
We have an inventory. I have to go through we did a curb inventory. I have to go through it, because on a lot of places with the laser truck, they can't tell, they know it's straight back, but they can't tell whether it's granite or concrete. They just know it's curb. So I think that's the way it's noted in our GIS right now. We'd have to ride the streets and clarify whether it's granite or concrete.
So just come with some information on this issue, it's important. Thank you. All right? This was on number 3, were we on number 3? Yes.
And 4 now.
Did we approve 3?
No, you didn't.
No,
Thank you,
we-
Terrell.
I
thank
thought you were asking to
That was the
come
public
back on the
comment.
13th.
The timer on the meeting is counting down.
No,
20 seconds left until we.
Need to, I think we need to adopt it, and then on the 13th.
Come back with
amend it.
amended.
Till the
Okay,
meeting's
fine.
over.
This is only about your soil and
Right,
erosion control.
I think you said amend it in the street code or the development code or something else. All right. Number 4, wait, we did,
Wait, we still,
I thought we didn't do it.
No, that was just public comment.
Okay, go ahead, in the motion.
I move that we approve and adopt and amend an amendment of Chapter 14 Land Development, Article 2 Environmental Control of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookhaven.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of adoption of the ordinance, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, number 4. It's Chapter 14, Article 3 Subdivisions, Division 3 Design Standards of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookhaven. It's ID number 1609. Is there any public comment? All right, is there a motion?
I move that we approve consideration of approval of adoption, Chapter 14, Article 3, Subdivisions, Division 3, Design Standards of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Brookhaven, Georgia, Land Development Subdivision Standards.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor of the ordinance, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, ordinance passes. Number 5,
Chapter 25.
Chapter 25, Sewer and Sewage Disposal, Article 6, Storm Sewer Illicit Discharge and Illegal Connection of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookhaven, Georgia. Is there a motion, or is there public comment? All right, is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt ordinance ID number 1610, approval of adoption of Chapter 25, Water, Sewer, and Sewage Disposal, Article 6, Storm Sewer Illicit Discharge and Illegal Connection of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookhaven, Georgia.
Is there a second?
The second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adoption of the ordinance, signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right. Number 6, ID 1613, consideration of approval for the adoption of Chapter 19, Parks and Rec of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookhaven, Georgia. Is there any public comment? Okay. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the adoption of Chapter 19 Parks and Recreation of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookhaven.
Second.
Any
If,
dis-
if,
Any discussion?
if I may, there was a,
Right.
An
There was-
amendment.
Did you already make the amendments?
it has not been made.
Okay, withdraw the motion.
Yeah, I'll withdraw my motion.
All right.
The amendment would be to section 19-30, alcoholic beverages, subsection C, locations where permitted to read permits may be issued by the Parks and Recreation Department Director for the consumption of alcoholic beverages at all City of Brookhaven parks.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion for the consideration and approval of adoption of Chapter 19 Parks and Recreation of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookhaven as amended and stated by our city attorney.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the ordinance, signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
All right,
I
ordinance.
didn't get the chance to say in discussion, I still want to be able to have us legally swim in our
You know,
Our
well, I was considering that
lakes.
if you could legislate the container that you brought the wine in and made it a, certain weave-type basket with tops that open from the top, then maybe that might work.
well, it's a consideration
All
for
right.
the future. I'm happy to
All right.
amend this.
All right. Ordinance 7, ID 1617, Special Tax
Okay.
District.
Right. Tom, you've got that.
Yeah, I have this one. In your package, you had received earlier a draft of an ordinance creating a special tax district comprising property annexed into the city of Brookhaven on December 8, 2014, and for other purposes. There's been an amendment to the ordinance since the last one you looked at it, but wherever the ordinance says the cost of providing public safety and other services to the area, the words will be inserted as follows, is of providing public safety and code enforcement services for 2015. Now, there'll be a distinction that it's just the code enforcement services for 2015, but the public safety services would continue throughout the period of the district.
All right.
So we're losing where it just says other services?
That's right. When you're losing where it says other services, there'll be a Romanet 1, small 1 in front of public safety purposes, and then and 2, Romanet, and it will read code enforcement services for 2015 in order to recognize that the understanding is that the assessments for code enforcement services would only be for the year 2015. I think that was part of the agreement that was adopted in connection with the annexation. And so wherever those amendments are, and there are 4 places in there, those would be changed to read that way.
All right. Is there a motion with the amendment as stated by city attorney?
I'll make the motion
to approve the special tax district as explained by our beloved attorney.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe.
Discussion?
This is not setting a millage rate, to clarify, once again.
That's right. This is just the creation of the special tax district, and for the real purpose of creating it prior to January 1, which is the assessment date. It's not clear as to whether or not we just wanted to be sure that we were able to have a January 1 assessment date for 2015.
Was there any public comment on this? Okay.
No.
Right. Is there a second?
We have a second?
We did a second. Was there a
Yeah,
second?
Rebecca's seconded.
Okay. Any discuss, that was discussion. All in favor of adopting the ordinance, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Other business? No other business, right? Public comments?
Where's Dale?
Dale.
No, Terrell is the only citizen left that doesn't have, no, you don't count, you have a job here, so she's the only citizen who's been here for the whole time, who's not here for other reasons.
Dedication award.
And consistently.
Right. All right.
You give a citation.
Mayor's comments. Thank you again to staff and everybody on the budget. Thank you to staff on all the good advice on all the zoning issues, and thank you to all our commissions and boards. Executive session, we don't need that. Adjournment, is there a motion?
I move that we adjourn the regular meeting.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adjournment, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned.
See you in 2015.
11:21.
You're 30.